It's in your board.
Oh, yeah. Okay, it's 6:11, and we would like to call the meeting back to order. And could we please stand for the flag salute? Ready, salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'll turn this over to, do we have any community and staff recognition?
Tonight we have Principal Armstrong from Rancho San Justo, who will be presenting a recognition. Yes.
Good evening. Is there a clicker by chance? Thank you. I appreciate it. Good evening, Superintendent Sanchez. It's so nice to see you back. Members of the board, members of the leadership team, and family and friends in the audience. So my name is Deborah Armstrong. I'm always the proud principal of Rancho San Justo Middle School. And outside of maybe a few others, I think I have the best job in the world. So let me see. Am I pointing this in the right way? Okay. Okay, what am I directing towards? Oh, down, sorry. Okay, thank you. So I'll be brief. I know you have a lot to cover tonight, but just here to share some great new things happening at Rancho. So our agenda for today quickly is our pilot programs that are unique to us, school-wide initiatives, and some are district-wide. A few scores to share. Well, I'll just say there's always room for growth, and then looking forward. So first, even though Einstein didn't actually say this, he's credited with it, but Einstein believed that the definition of insanity was doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And so we at Rancho take this very seriously and said, given the resources that we currently have and that we anticipate, what can we do differently to support teaching and learning at Rancho? And I know sometimes I probably drive the district office crazy, but with my site leadership team, we have come up with lots of great thoughts. So these are our pilot programs. And just at a glance, there's zero period PE, which I may have presented to this group in the past. And it's ongoing for this semester, and I'll talk about that. I'm going to talk about our career exploration class, which we're very excited about, our walk to learn, which we just started 2 weeks ago, and then some new teacher support that we were able to do. And so we're really, really student-centered. So all these programs are to support our favorite little Broncos. Oops, that went too fast. Oh, because the animations don't work, do they? Well, then I'll have to wing it, like every educator has ever had to do. So zero period PE will be blocked, but zero period PE, what it is it's our ELD students who are always pulled out and miss electives. So 28 brave souls every morning from 7:30 to 8:15 come to school, and Coach Della Maggiore does an awesome job with them with the help of Antonia, our community liaison. And those little guys do PE at the crack of dawn, but then it frees up their schedule. So during the day, instead of taking PE, they take culinary arts, they can take leadership, they can take ASD. And so we're tracking the data to see if their LPAC scores move. And at the end of December, we want to do a little focus group with them. Because if you ask them on the daily, they go, oh, it's so early. But I'd like to know from them how they feel. But we're hoping it improves their LPAC scores. And from an equity lens, they're participating in all the activities that their counterparts are. So for this year, we're keeping it small with the hopes of expanding it more for next year. We were able to do it through the Community Schools Grant. So we've got a couple more years to be supportive of that. But it's been a real team effort. And so far, the kids have loved it. Career exploration was also started through the Community Schools Grant. They funded everything we needed for the room, and we currently have about 50 kids each semester. We hired a new teacher this year when we lost the beloved John Egan. We have a new gentleman who's on board. So he's focusing on culinary arts twice a day and then wood shop the rest of the day. But culinary arts has been great, and Maria and Patty and her team have been supporting as best they can. It still is very much a pilot, but Kids are learning, kids are baking, kids are measuring, because in their daily life, they didn't use fractions. And so this has been very helpful. And we're encouraging them just to try something new. So it's just twice a day for them. And then walk to learn, I'll have to give credit where credit is due. Jenny Bernowski does this out at Spring Grove. So we met with her, and Samantha Rivas always pushes me to be a better principal than I would be on my own. And so she has been really the brain behind all of this. But with the help of Jennifer Miller, we got all of our 5th grades CASP scores. So for the intervention period at the end of the day, which was already built into the schedule, we sorted the kids, and I don't know that that's a great word to use, but we sorted their scores and then broke them up for the last 35 minutes of the day based on where they were in the CASP. So they grouped together by skill set, and then what might be easiest to do, I don't know if I should, I feel so weird not pointing to things, but I use my teacher voice. So how it really worked is we sorted the kids initially. We sorted about 200 students and divided amongst the 8 teachers. We used their CASP scores with Jennifer's help. Then they all took the same FIAB, which is just a tiny glimpse of the CASP. But we all took the same one, and they all got their scores. And then they kind of knew why they were sorted or not. Then for the next 4 to 6 weeks, there's a tool within the CASP to teach me, or any of us, we could be a math teacher tomorrow, how to reteach the skills associated with it, and then they're gonna take the FIAB again. And it's graded, and they know it, and they kind of like it. It also gets them up out of 6th period seat, and they walk to their class to walk to learn. They know we have prizes associated with it, but we're hoping by being super intentional, very standards focused, very database, and supporting the teachers, that we set a 5% score increase in the CASP. I'd love to see a 10, but we'll put 5 out there for now and put that out to the universe. So far the kids like it. We're only in our 2nd week, but the results at Spring Grove were so encouraging, and we have a great team of 6th grade teachers. They're all willing to try it, so they've been tremendous partners in this effort. Unfortunately, again, for community schools grant. So for us, partly because we have an expanded 6th grade, we have a lot more this year than we did last year. We have 8 total teachers. 1 of whom had taught a couple of months, but 2 are absolutely brand new. I mean, absolutely brand new in 7th grade. So we used our community schools money to pay Andrea Harvey to come. She spent the first 4 weeks of school every day with these teachers. And you know, I mean, Jan was sort of my mentor when I was a brand new teacher and said, you know, they'll learn despite you, but you gotta focus on classroom management. Okay, so when we were at Mays, I remember you telling me that, like, okay. So we really had Andrea help them with classroom management. The content will follow and all that, but they've been terrific. And then she comes back as needed. So she's here this week to help with Walk to Learn. And that's the community school grant. So those are kind of the Rancho specific things based on the kids that we have, our amazing 653 Broncos. School-wide, we're leaning into all the district initiatives. So our ASB is just booming. They went to a leadership retreat today, and they came back with 1,000 stories. And they got to be the pros at Guess the Song Friday, so they got to present about what we do at Rancho. So they were really excited. We adopted 5-star, and we use the Hall Pass feature. And so what it is, it's 5-star allows a teacher to give PBIS points in class. You know, hey, great job, Aaron, you got 5 points. It also tracks kids when they leave the classroom and come back to the bathroom. So we know we have 10 kids right now who have more than 40 times that they've left the class to go to the bathroom. Wow. So then we look at the kids and say, why is that happening? We also can, because we discourage romance at the middle school level, we know what's happening, so then we don't let Bobby out if, you know, this one's out, so they can't ever meet at the bathroom. So we use, digitally, we exclude them. And then we can collect if kids go to the dances. So we just have more and more data to kind of get a good holistic picture of what our kids are doing. We are doing school-wide AVID. Emma's been a tremendous help with that. We're doing it kind of in baby steps. We sent 5 of us to the AVID conference. It's always been there. So this year we're just focused on note-taking. Everybody is taking notes the same way. Emma's done a PD on it. We've got a consultant helping us. So if we can just do it in small steps, we hope to be a little more successful. And then wellness extension activities. So I'm gonna hand my visual to you guys. may I just hand it, have you pass it down?
Yes.
Last year with our grant money, we tried evening wellness and it just didn't really fly. Families weren't willing to come in the evening as a single or paired family to come talk to us. So we're doing a much bigger event on the 2nd of December and we would love any or all of you to come. But it's a wellness extension activity organized by Nora, mostly on our campus with a team of students. And then the other school-wide initiative is PBS 2.0. So the Winter Wellness is open to all our families. It's in collaboration with some of our community-based organizations. Staff is also doing things. Our culinary arts teacher is going to talk to families about making trail mix and how just measuring those things out. So families will leave with trail mix and then with some ideas of how to maybe do some extension activities at home. And then students participated in the planning. So they told us what they thought would be interesting, which is always different than what we think would be interesting. Same with our music choices. We have found that out the hard way. For PBIS, which has been helpful again through Emma and through everybody, we're just sort of rejuvenating it. It started before COVID. It's come up and down, but we've really focused. We sent 2 teachers and Ms. Rivas to the PBIS conference, and they came back with this idea that a Bronco Bash, it's a big celebration, and you can be excluded through tardies, what do you think about it? 5 or fewer tardies, 1 or 0 office referrals, and no suspensions. And so we promote this every week in our advisory. Students participated in saying they wanted a, I don't know, cotton candy machine, and they wanted ice cream. I mean, they want a lot. They want essentially Great America at Rancho. So we're gonna do what we can, but at this point, only 70 students aren't eligible. So out of 650-ish kids, only 70 have sort of fallen off. But we remind them, like, hey, you want to do this, you really want to be a part of this. But it's very much focused on be on time, be respectful, you know, do what you're supposed to do. So January is our first big one, and then we'll do one again in early April to also promote the cast, and then the end of the year. So this, again, is a great idea stolen from another school, and they've had excellent results. So we're leaning heavily into our positive behaviors. And then scores to share. So, as you can see, our ELA moved in the right direction. We have an amazing team that does ELA, and we have just a solid band of teachers teaching ELA, which is great. No one brand new, and it's wonderful, wonderful. Math is where we need help. So the 6th grade team understood why we said math only for this year. Math only maybe for next year. We only have so much bandwidth. And then, of course, our English language learners are doing very well. We have a couple trilingual kids this year, and I always make them say things 3 times. So it's fun to see they're truly multilingual learners, which I would just love. As a school, we are using FIABs, which are very short focused, and then the IABs a bit larger. But we're using IABs as assessments in our classes. So kids, even with science, and it's kind of a new thing for science, but the more they take it and then you reteach it, the better they will do. And I don't know if that's an argument about teaching to the test, but they have to take the test. So we have to make sure they're as best as they can be and that it reflects what they really know. So those are our scores for now. I can't wait for a year from now to show you the scores next year. And then just quickly looking forward, we're tracking data for everything. So for our 0 period PE, will it be a no or no-go next year? We don't know, but so far just anecdotally, it looks great. We just want to get some numbers on it. The more family events, we're excited. We have 75 families that have RSVP'd for the Winter Wellness. And then with Antonia's help, we're trying to do a ballet in the spring. We can't pay for a band with community school monies, and that's an expensive part. So we're trying to find someone to do 2 hours for free. But a ballet for everyone would really be fun and culturally relevant, and I just know that people would have a great time. And then school-wide FIAB focus, as I mentioned. And then finally, we're looking at 6th grade with this intentional intervention, rooted in standards, driven by data. How can we do that for 7th and 8th grade next year? So we're going to be thinking a lot about that. Ms. Serrano, who's here, has been really instrumental in thinking about those pieces. And so it really has been a great team effort. With that, any questions?
I do.
Yes.
This forward thinking you have regarding the PE in the morning, is that your idea?
No, stole it from the high school. I really think everything in education for the most part is taken from other places.
That's absolutely wonderful. I
Oh,
love
thank you.
that. I absolutely love that idea. Thank you.
You're welcome. It works great. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Yes.
I have a question about that as well. I think that's a great idea. My years at Mays, I always felt really badly that our ELs got no elective time.
Right.
So I'm wondering, how easy was it for you to get a teacher? Does that teacher get a second prep period? Or how does that all work? And is this something that is sustainable?
Well, I know Ms. Wilson and I had a million conversations about how to sustain it going forward. We hope to have the data to prove that it's worth sustaining. Finding a teacher was no problem, particularly Coach Dan Majori. He was there anyway in the morning. And it's currently just funded on a timesheet through Community Schools Grant. And then going forward, we have to think about what it does to our FTE and to retirement and all those pieces. But if we can present you with the data, then we'll go forward from there.
I look forward to the data.
I think the progress that you've made with English learners being in the blue is amazing. Because I think those are our biggest group that struggle, right? And the fact that you are targeting and looking at the CASP and really assessing what we can do, right? And I think, because we can't do it all.
No.
But I think, narrowing our focus, right, I think makes the most sense with our time, our energy, our resources, because we have to, with limited resources, we really have to focus on what individual schools need to focus on, right? And I think that is strategic, and developing out of the box type of ideas that help, specific groups of students.
And they're such great kids.
And just the opportunity, I think, that they're offered, and everything that you incorporate with the positive behavior and rewarding that, to me, I think is just goes hand in hand.
And we hope to, as we reclassify them, then they get to the high school and they don't have to be in ELD there, so they can take all the electives and truly do a true CTE pathway or something that they would like to.
Correct.
It kind of, middle school sets them up for high school, which sets them up for the
Yes,
rest.
and right now, unfortunately, the pattern is kids are struggling in math. That's just been what we're seeing.
Well,
It's exciting.
yeah, I love it.
Come by anytime.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
great job.
Okay. We're moving on to agenda item number 8, and in closed session, the board voted unanimously and approved OAH case number 20250700034. Okay, so number 9, agenda item. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Yes, I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
A second?
Roll call vote, trustee Tosti?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Gris?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well, motion carries. Moving on to item number 10 on the agenda, public comments. And it looks like we have one comment card. Jan, that's for you.
This is on 15A, so.
Oh, that's on 15A, okay. So no public comments in the basket, Kathy, at all? No?
Just that one.
Just that one, okay.
I have one, but I wasn't sure where to put it, but it's also for 15A. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Is it?
Is it for 15A?
Just fill it out and bring it up when you're ready.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on now to agenda item number 11. We have reports tonight. Our first one is the 2025 trimester 1 and dashboard report.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Sanchez. Thank you for having us tonight. We're showing up in full force, almost everyone on the team. So I have for you our trimester 1 and dashboard report. We just wrapped up our first trimester and the first three periods for middle school. We are in semesters for middle school, and here is that information for you. I just want to remind everyone that everything we do is for the whole child. We address all aspects of the student's development, their physical, social, emotional, and their cognitive needs here at Hollister School District. We aspire to prepare them for a success in life and be healthy, safe, engaged, and supported and challenged. So with that in mind, let's see how we did on the dashboard. So this is a district evaluation of the dashboard. We know that the dashboard compiles the ELA, math, the English learner progress, and then it takes that academic information that I shared last time, and it also adds in the chronic absenteeism progress and the suspension rate progress. So this is our dashboard on those elements, and I just want to remind the public and those viewing that a color is assigned based on two things: your progress in that actual area and the improvement that you have in that area. So I'm happy to say that in ELA, the data that we reviewed last time was positive. We have made growth, and but unfortunately, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off, we will be in DA. So we'll go over it, but we did really good things, and I have some numbers to share with you after it was all said and done, because we have hit markers that we've never hit before, ever. Even though we still have our student groups are the ones that make us eligible for differentiated assistance. So here you have English language learners, the ELA, and the students that were in red there were the LTELs, the long-term English learners, and students with disabilities. So that means that they declined in achievement, or they didn't make their progress improvement. In yellow or orange there, we have our African American and our homeless population. For math, we have in red our homeless, our LTELs, and our students with disabilities. You'll remember that we were in differentiated assistance for homeless 2-3 years ago. So this is a population about the size of 150 students in our whole entire district. And so we were confident, we focused on it in the process, we got out of DA for that, and so we're confident that we can do that again. In orange on math, we have Hispanic and students, socioeconomically disadvantaged students. I want to call your eye to the very bottom of those, the little markers, the tabs that have the numbers. Those are the student groups that are in that color for their progress, okay? And then we go, yes.
So with those numbers at the bottom, because I was wondering about those, we don't have those listed on the side of the chart, like you do the red and the orange?
I don't, because it's such it'll go to the matrix. You'll see it in the matrix. Okay. Yeah, it's so much information, so much data to combine. Yes. But for the purposes of this and for our DA eligibility, I wanted just to look at, where are we the most at risk for? Okay. So then for our LPs, we had nobody in red and nobody in orange. That was so amazing. We had one of the student groups in blue. I don't think we've ever achieved a blue before, and so especially not in LP. So we were silently celebrating that, and I have more information about that in just a little bit. Then, so those are ELA and math are one criteria. So it's together the academic criteria. LP is another criteria that you can be eligible for differentiated assistance. Then you also have chronic absenteeism is a criteria, and suspension is a criteria. Science is catching up, that'll be under the academic in the future. But then you can see for chronic absenteeism, again, we see the long-term English learners in red, and students with disabilities in red on our chronic absenteeism. In orange, we have African American, Asian, Hispanic, Pacific Islander, our English learners, Hispanics, 2 or more races, socioeconomically disadvantaged, and our whites. However, in the suspension rate, you'll notice we have 2 student groups that are in blue. So we take our wins with our losses. And then in science, this is the second year, this is the first year of comparison. So this is our second year of science. We have homeless identified in red and students with disabilities in orange. Okay, any questions so far? All right, so we were very discouraged about the LTEL, but here is a conundrum. How can we have red for our LTELs, but then they achieve blue in the LP? So we have to balance it out. So they did really well in their English proficiency assessment. And so when we look at ELA and math, how did they get in red? And we talked about this last time, how we are reclassifying students. And so I think Jan, or Trustee Grist, you said we scrape the cream off the top, and so then they come back and they have, we have students that struggle in ELA and math. And this is constant, we are reclassifying, they do well, so then they move on. So I just want to say there's a good and a bad there. That blue on the LP is amazing. We are so happy to have that. And so many of our schools do have green or blue for LP, which is such an achievement. As someone noted earlier, that's a sensitive population. It's a very difficult population to reach, and we're happy for those wins. Overall, out of all 6,000 students, it's something that we need to acknowledge and move forward with. So, to Trustee Rios, here is that student group matrix. This kind of summarizes all of the colors and all of the areas that we need support in. And you can see that the 3 long-term English learners, homeless, and students with disabilities are the ones that have more than 2 reds, and so that makes us eligible for differentiated assistance. The areas that achieved the most reds were suspension rate and mathematics, so we want to make sure that we are focusing on those, and I can talk to our plans for that. I was looking back, and I have something that I'll share with you very soon on all of our greens and blues, and I can't remember a time, and I didn't find a time when we had so many greens and so many blues on our dashboard. So I don't want to discount our reds and oranges, but I also don't want to wallow, and I want to celebrate the fact that we have blues and greens on there for one of the first times ever. Okay? Any questions with that?
I think that, we're making great progress in special ed.
Yes.
But we also have to be realistic that in special ed, they're the highest group that doesn't graduate. Also, our long-term ELs is a group that doesn't graduate. So this is a systemic problem. And then our math is a real problem. And, we just, for whatever, we can't seem to find any money to look at this math issue. And maybe we need to start rethinking when we offer it during the day. Maybe that's the issue. How many kids we're putting in at a time when we're teaching them math. I mean, we need to really start thinking outside the box a little bit. And thinking, especially when we teach it during the day.
So we have, as you know, we have 3 improvement science cycles going at one time. We have our differentiated assistance group, which is a mixed group of classified, certificated, administrative personnel that come together and look at why are students not doing well in math, particularly why are our students with disabilities not doing well in math. So we go through an extensive process. Just say, if any of you has any thought, why are they not improving? and we consider that, we dial down to root causes. We are in the process this year of full implementation of those driver diagrams and our cycles. So we have yet to really see a full year of the output. Same for Unite, we're focusing, we've done a lot of work on calibrating assessment and instruction with our students with disabilities. That's not going to be seen until end of year or next year. Already we've seen some things that instantly helped, but we're still, it's a system and it takes some time. Then we also, with our administrators, every month, we talk about how are we going to improve our student performance in math particularly. What is it that our students need so that we can address it? That said, so we have 2 campuses, 2 schools that are in blue for math. Okay, so it can be done. And so yes, we can achieve this. It is attainable. So it's looking at all of those things, and I love the thinking out of the box mindset, because who knows, we come up with the most interesting things. It's called a fishbone. We say, okay, students are not, I may have shown you a picture before, they're not performing well in math. Why? It's because this, and this. Well, why not? And then we go to the 5 whys.
I used to use the fishbone on a storyline.
Yeah. Well, it is a storyline. They're not performing. So we will continue, and we'll never get to the finish line, right? We get out, we get in, we do better. It's always something that we're chasing. So I just want to make sure that we feel good about our achievements, and I'll just take a moment right now. Speaking of blues and greens, after looking at the site, and I'm sorry I don't have this for you, I will have it for you. So for our LPs, for blue or green on the English language proficiency indicator, 4 out of 10 schools have blue or green. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. Out of chronic absenteeism, 2 have blue or green. So we're looking like, oh, now we're back in VA for chronic absenteeism. So some schools are doing it, they're getting it done. Suspension rate, we had 7 schools in blue or green, but yet we're still in DA for suspension. We can do it. We have ELA, we have 1 that has blue or green, math has 2 school sites, and science have 6. And I told you the top 3 schools in San Diego County are, in science, are from Rollister. So it is doable. We know we're on the right track. We just can't beat ourselves up, the poor team. We're so crushed. But we pick ourselves up and we say, we can do this, right? We just are working so hard to become a goal. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to keep going. We're going to refine our collaboration with our educational partners. We have exceptional partnerships with the high school and AHJ. At the high school is LFDA for the first time in eternity. So they did it, and it's amazing. Kudos to them. So we know we need blue. Yep, for the first time they have a blue. Since we've ever DA. It's doable, and so we want to make sure that we're supporting one another. Lane, Javon, and I meet routinely. We share, we collaborate. It's a amazing partnership. We also have our Math on Track that is going to be spoken to a little bit later. That our 8th grade math teachers collaborate with their Algebra 1 teachers. A lot of great things are coming from that. So we are going to dedicate, or at least I myself, I want to name and know every single hotel, every single homeless student, every single student with disabilities, so that I can say, I am helping you. We are going to get you on the road to success. We're going to fortify our tier 1 supports, the PAT, early intervention, continue that work. The Gen Ed BCBA, super helpful, and our high quality first instruction. We're also going to support proactive responses to negative student behavior. Suspension, we started this last year, Kip and I met with, we were tracking suspensions as the year was going on, and so we said, hey, looks like maybe you're not on the right path. Come meet with us, and how can we work together? And one of those schools, no, I'm sorry, two of those schools are in yellow, green, or blue because of a proactive approach, like, hey, now's the time to intervene, right? Now's the time we need to change. So, being proactive about that, get and keep our TKs, tenders, and eighth graders to school, with attendance, and then we just monitor, how are we doing?
I write notes when I read these things. And I put that, first off, you know, when we fail a child, we need to look at ourselves because we failed. And a lot of teachers, they don't look at it that way. And it's like, I can't believe that. But to me, if we fail, if a child fails, we fail. And I believe that this is the first time in a long, I've gone to a lot of board meetings, and a board has not talked about this before. That it's we have to look at things. How can we work together? And like what's happening between SPED and General Ed, what's happening between our working with our long-term ELs and working to get them reclassified. The push has been phenomenal, just phenomenal, because people are working together.
Thank you, Jim, yes.
And that takes people working together. And we're not sitting on our laurels, I did this way, we're not. We're working as a team. And that shows when we have our token blues, yellow or green. But it shows, and the only heartbreak I have right now, that I feel that we need to really do something is helping with our kids with the math.
Agreed.
We're not putting the money there. And we, somehow or another, we gotta figure something out.
Absolutely.
Because everything else is, I feel good about, but I don't feel good about the math.
Right. Yep. I just want to commend you on working together. I also want to know that when people leave their you at the door,
Yeah.
we get a lot more done.
Yes.
Absolutely. Because we're here for the kids.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think another conversation is, you know, a big part of this is, the buy-in with, you know, our teaching partners, because we could develop and plan and all this and that, but, you know, buy-in is a big part of whether ideas are gonna work. And so we've had HST at the high school for several years, but it's been a struggle because, again, if you don't have the buy-in from the instructors, from the teachers, it's not going to be as effective as we want it to be or need it to be. So working with our partners hand in hand and collaborating, giving them the tools that they need, you know, I think goes further than, you know, trying to develop all of these other things, you know, in our neck of the woods, because, you know, what's happening in the classroom is something we may not really see on a daily basis. And so I also, you know, because as, you know, Rancho was looking and really looking at what area they need to focus on, and they're actually working on doing what they need to do to focus on that specifically, right? I think that in itself, really looking and assessing what your data is showing, what improvements need and what areas you need support in, I think is, because not all the school sites need math.
No.
Some I see need support in the suspension rate, or in the red, you know, or in the yellow for the English learners. And so I think it's really, as a district, because we have so many different school site population, demographics, that it's unique to each site what is truly
That's
needed.
true.
And then when we focus on what that need is, I think we would be more productive.
Yes.
Right.
And so, and I also want to just say a shout out to AAA that all of their scores are in the blue.
Yes.
And that is an amazing accomplishment. We don't normally recognize, but blue is a big deal, and the fact that they're in blue in all areas should be recognized and should be celebrated. Because as we celebrate and call out other districts here or other schools that are doing the work, there are some that just need a little bit of support in the chronic absenteeism, but they're doing amazing in all other areas.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. So the information that I'm going to share with you that goes into that student matrix that replicates this for each of the school sites. So 9 out of 10 of our schools have at least one blue. That's amazing, right? So it's hard. We see the forest, we see this is our forest, but let's look at the trees. And now I'm getting goosebumps because I'm a nerd. But and then 8 of 10 of them have green. So we have to celebrate, but then we also want to honor their individuality and their needs.
Right.
And that is exactly our theme that we are focusing on at the admin meetings this year. We've started at a district level. We've started at, across the board, we're going to do math and students with disabilities. Now we're going to go into what do you need at your school site, because every single one is different.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm excited to share this with you so that you can see these colors yourself for your school site. I apologize for not having that ready sooner, but let's carry on. And unless there's any other questions, yes.
I just have a question. Looking at the suspension rates.
Yes.
Do you have data on, are those students getting multiple suspensions, or is it a one and done? And does that help to inform whether you interact with the gen ed or special ed BCBAs or that kind of thing?
Yes, so that's part of the work that Kip and I did with the 4 sites last year, and looking at what is it, what time of day. Okay, so now what do we need to do at that time of day? What is it that they're being suspended for, and their frequency. And what's interesting about the dashboard is that they will count anybody who's been enrolled with us. So when you look at, for example, you go to the data quest, it'll say you had 6,219 students last year. I'm like, no, we didn't. We only had 5,000. But those are all students that come and go.
That were enrolled at some point in the school year.
Yes, and so if they were suspended, then they count. So they could have been here for a minute and gone, and we're chasing this data. But absolutely, going diving down into what is it that is triggering this, doing that information, and that's all the stuff that we'll do with the sites individually. How do we respond to? If you look at, I was just sharing this morning at Cadman, the high school suspension data plummeted because of a response that they had with their OCI, their on-campus intervention. And so not only are we not sending a kid home to go play video games, but they're on campus and they get academic support, or they have mental health therapists who can help them regulate or work through some issues. So those conversations we see and we want those for our students so that they are engaged at school and we can support them. Yep. All right. So there's our next steps. Let's look at trimester 1. Local indicators, so these are all of our local assessments. Here is our star rating. This is all second, most of second, all 3rd through 8th graders. We have 3,995 students assessed, and you can see there that we had a large portion in green, which is the at or above for the district benchmark. And then we talked about this before, but I'd like to include this, the student growth percentile. This is a measure of a 8-year-old nationwide. Are they on trajectory for an 8-year-old at that time? 67.8% of our students are on track. So they are making progress. They're not, yes, and I think a lot of that is attributed to, one, the teachers, of course, but then our MTSS team. So now we are catching them earlier and earlier. These students who lag, we need to provide support. And what's encouraging about this is that when we go to math, you look at the percentage the student growth, it's almost the same. So that is a really great indicator. Our students are learning. It may be a little bit slower for some, but they're learning, and that's all we can ask of them. So of the math, we had more students take math, but the percentage for men or above, at or above is 51.55%. So that's really good indicator for us to continue on. And this again is 2nd through 8th. It's a different assessment. It's an adaptive assessment. So it's different than the state assessment. So we're getting different information here. We're understanding what is their standard competency. It really dials it down for them. Yes.
Does the STAR data, does that also include our special ed students?
Yes. This year we have the special ed department has been working really closely with the teachers to give this assessment to those students so that they have an opportunity to show their knowledge.
So we can think about the red and the yellow band having a lot of special ed students in it, or?
Well, here's the thing about it. Like I said, it's adaptive. So sometimes it's really not, it can be, I don't know, I don't want to say that I don't want to lump them all in there, you know. I want to say that they have an opportunity to be, to show progress at their own level.
And that would be reflected in the student growth?
Yes.
Part of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I suppose so in the red and yellow, but I'm an optimistic Olivia. So I would say that, you know, as long as we're in the growth percentile going up, that's what we would need. This is the very first year that a lot of these students have taken that test. And so it could be, you know, there's a lot, as you may know, getting used to it and then helping, you know, helping stay focused and whatnot. So, but even so, I mean, so we're looking at maybe 30% in the yellow and red. And that's kind of a typical picture of what we have. Okay. Righty? No. I'm pressing down. Thank you. Okay, then we go to the littles. We have our CBM, reading and math. So we have 52% at or above our benchmark for reading and 61% for math. So maybe that's going to be a little bubble when those little guys get up to math. Maybe we have to keep that moving on, right? That's also where they're most imaginative. So math takes a lot of imagination, and so maybe we can foster that imagination throughout their older years and think differently of problems. All right, so this year we had a reading readiness screener that we implemented. The state of California mandated that school districts have a reading readiness screener. This may be formally, you may know this as the dyslexia screener. They changed it appropriately because it's not just dyslexia. We are testing, the state requires that we test, or screens, kinder, first, and second graders, and annually. And so when we have a new student come in, we have to screen them within 90 days, just like we have our initial LPACs. And it's a series of short tests designed to provide insight into early reading development. It is a cognitive, I'm going to say this 100 times, it's a cognitive assessment. It's not an academic assessment. We're testing the development and the readiness of a brain to read. And so it's testing how receptive has this student been in their upbringing to things. I don't have the exact percentages, but there's a certain, it's like the bell curve. There's a certain percentage of students, it doesn't matter what you do, they're going to learn to read by themselves. Then there's a little band of students that with some support, they're going to learn. Then there's a band of students that it's like you're going to bang your head against the wall and we need to help them learn how to read. So this is a cognitive screen. It is not an academic screening, okay? It identifies students who may experience reading challenges. So it's a study of the brain and how it processes. It is not a diagnostic tool. It helps teachers and families identify and understand specific strengths and needs for reading instruction in the future. And it allows for timely support to ensure that every student becomes a strong reader, so we can apply those interventions earlier than before. And this is what it looks like. We chose our partners, UCSF, because we have been in research with them for this exact screener. And this is what the results look like as of whenever I made these slides, just not too long ago. And you can see it's kind of like that bell curve. So we have a 60% is on target, and then we have about a 40% that needs support. Now, I did not mention that a student who, because it's a cognitive assessment, if the student in home language is Spanish or some other than English, they're assessed in that language. This year, the state's only requiring Spanish, but UCSF has, I think, 11 different languages that we would be able to assess the student in. So if their home language said Spanish, then they were screening in Spanish. If they passed, they're done. If they didn't pass, then we thought maybe their English is, maybe it is a language barrier. We'll screen them in English. And so we're in the process of doing that now, so we can accurately identify who is on target and who needs support. Any questions so far? Okay. So then you have the breakdown of the report. So you have the 3 different percentile sections that parents will find. The darker the color, the more intensive need is needed. And just how did it go? Like, here's some information. It went pretty smoothly. We screened 1,956 students with 11 screeners in about 10 minutes each, totaling 4 or 5 weeks. The screeners are fantastic. We borrowed them from LPAC testing, and so they were happy to have something to do in between initials and February. And so then what we're doing, we are sent out reports that were complete so that teachers who were anxious to share that report at parent-teacher conferences could share. But we're going to do a mass send because of the 90-day. We want to make sure that we are going to do it like at every 90 days or so. So we're right at that cusp, and they'll get that result via Parent Square. And then also a link to Multitudes where they can have activities to help support their student. And so then what do we do with the results? We're going to have early intervention. This is going to go into our system. It's going to be part of our MTSS teams. It's going to be an early flag. No, it does not mean that the student is going to be eligible for special ed or needs an IEP. Absolutely not. We need to provide tier 1 and monitor, possibly tier 2 to these students so we can watch them progress and see what they need.
Because it's a cognitive test, like you said, what are the types of interventions? Because we have TAP as an intervention. Is that what would be our response to a student in that dark blue area, or is there something else to look at that at jumpstarting that brain development?
So we want to look at what exactly on their assessment, on their screener, indicated them for needing support. And that will determine what kind of response we have. UCSF has several tools and suggestions for teachers and parents and administrators to apply. So we will be able to dive into, and that's the most fascinating part of it, because it's like a whole new world for us to really understand, like, okay, this is a brain function, and so what can we do? Now we're really getting into those accommodations where we have on the CAPS. Maybe the child needs to see everything and with a pink overlay. Maybe the child is, starting to switch their letters, and so now we need to, adapt to that and really get down to the individual needs of those students. So it's exciting, and I can't say everything that we're going to do because we don't even know what some of those things might be.
So, like in my particular situation, my youngest has ADD, and I knew there was an issue when he was young because when I tried to teach him ABCs, we could not do ABCs. and reading was just impossible. So having this screener, and because we would have SST after SST after SST, and we just never got to a conclusion of that type until he was in the 3rd grade. And by then, he had already lost, you know, all these years with the foundational piece of English that he could not, he struggled. And so those are like, how would this tool help a parent with a child like that?
So for a parent, I think it gives them a lot of assurance that there is an indicator that says that we need to focus on this specifically. So I know why you're not reading when you're 8 years old. The screener would say it's likely the student may need some extra support. So I think for a parent, it's helpful because it kind of explains it in a way and says that, okay, now we need to work on these things specifically. And whether it's reading every night or auditory or singing or all of the things that we may not have even identified to help a student, I think it really assures parents that we understand your child and where they're going, and we need to keep that in mind when we're developing a plan for them and when we're applying our tiered interventions.
Because again, the struggle for the teacher to try to keep him on task and in his chair and all of these things, it could be interpreted as a behavioral issue or some other thing that we didn't know quite what it was, right? And so, that's why I'm trying to figure out if this screener helps support families with information that they could either then go get, seek something with their doctors or a specialist or something, right, that now could be more of a diagnosis and a support, now understanding, okay, until I knew my child had ADD, I felt like I was doing something wrong, or, and I didn't know how to support him, I didn't know how to support the teacher, and the teacher probably thought, but those are like the challenges I think that we see with our children every day, especially when we're not knowledgeable in what different types of cognitive issues are out there. Right?
UCSF has a pretty well-developed parent support page on their website that we can direct them to. But think of the implications when we talk about parent education and say, for your student, did your student score in the lower percentile? Come to this meeting and here's what we're going to talk about. Here's some strategies, and have it's kind of like going to the doctor and you're like, I don't feel well, and the doctor says it's because of this, and you're like, okay, I know what it is, right? Now I feel like now I can address it. I can do these things for it. So that is the plan, to support parents, be proactive on it, and then certainly include this data in our MTSS team so we can be proactively addressing it.
Since you're working with UCSF and you mentioned that they have a parent page, rather than relying on parents to go to that page, do they have things that we can print out and give to parents at conferences? Because I'm wondering if some of based on the different areas of that screener, if there might be recommendations, because I don't know, maybe auditory memory is one of the things that it targets
really well.
And so, it's play word games like at home, or sing songs, those kinds of things that parents can do very easily, but not make them have to go to the website and try to figure out how to do that. If there's like some one-page things, these are the 2 areas your student, is needs more support in. Here are some things for at home.
Yes, and I think that's the benefit to Parent Square, is that it's going to be sent digitally, so they'll have that, one, they're not going to lose the paper, but 2, they'll have that electronic or the digital access to go to that.
And their own student, or just
yes, Yes, so Parent Square, we're able to send individual student results to that specific parent. So they're gonna see their report, and, I didn't put a picture of their report, sorry. They're gonna have their report, it's gonna say this, and you want more help for your students, or what do I do with these results? Click here, and you go here, and you have all of these things that, you know, that lead to other things. And then absolutely, when we're talking about the MTSS teams, and we go to an SST, we can say, here's some things, you know, maybe put Steps to Brilliance is something that we would want to direct them to, or, you know, whatever the other resources are that we're identifying for them, so that they are supported. Yeah, yep. Okay, anything else on multitudes? Got a lot for a report today. All right, climate and culture indicators. So these are the things that we're monitoring. These are the things that can impact our dashboard, our attendance, our chronic absenteeism. So I just want to note that we did some work on 23-24. We had 21.4%. 24-25, we went to 19.5%. Year to date today, 20.0%. So we're going to be on. Jennifer Miller has threatened to take the bus and drive around town and get those LTLs to class so that we can support our students better. And then we have our Kelvin results just came back in. We had increased participation. Again, I'm so excited. This is for the students and the families. So 82% participation there, 80% were favorable. This is things like my child gets what they need at school, my child feels safe at school, it's a student saying I feel safe at school, I know an adult on campus that can help me. So all of that is really affirming. It means that students can not worry about all of that, and they can really open up their minds to learning. So we'll have more information on that. The teacher survey is out right now. We haven't had the greatest participation in it, so we're hoping to gather that because we care about our staff too. Do they feel supported? How often do they feel overwhelmed? You know, that's really important information for us to manage because they're the ones with our students every day giving these results. The suspension rate, let's take a look. So 24-25 was 4.2. Today, I wish it was just, we're done for the year, 0.9. Can you imagine the flu? That would be great. So this is the graph there is over the past 4 years with our current year to date. So you can see how it kind of goes up and down. But yeah, 0.9 is pretty good. Hopefully we can keep that to a minimum. And like I said, we're being proactive in it with conversations, knowing which schools need to, knowing those 2 schools that were like, oh gosh, you are gonna like far surpass our suspension rate, and then they were able to bring it back and then be in yellow or green was amazing. Social emotional indicator, so year to date overall in 24-25, she had 1,676 formal visits across our campuses, informal visits 5,084 visits. Those people work so hard. They're there for our students. They show up 25-26 so far. We have 162 district-wide and 1,934 informal visits. Okay, I'm going to stop talking for a minute and let some experts come on up on our math. We've got some people that are going to talk about Math on Track, our curriculum refresh, and our improvement science cycle, but don't worry, I'll be right here in case you have any questions.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent Sanchez. Thank you for having us. So the first thing that I'm going to go over tonight is the Math on Track, which you're very familiar with. This is our 2nd year with our team, and it's grown, tripled in size since last year. So the 3 areas that I kind of outlined here for you tonight, just reminding you what Math on Track is we have our team of 15 team members that has grown from, starting with Kelly, our #1 last year, and now it's blossomed to a team of 15 of teachers and administration. So, and then within our team, we have release days set up, which also are the same day that we also meet with the high school and collaborate with them. So the team also gets to PLC. We're going to be doing some classroom visits on Thursday at the high school, so we're excited to see some of those classrooms in action. And then we have our 3 convenings that happen throughout the year where everyone, including 5 other districts, come together. And we're the unique ones of the group, right? Because we're not unified, and everybody looks at us like, how does that even work? You know, but it's working. So the next area is the instructional practices, which we've highlighted, right, is the need district-wide. So some of the things that our team is working on with the high school is the no-show charts, and that's like a standard base charts that they do to prep for the lessons and what we want to see in the lessons. The grading is the calibration of the grading, reteaching cycles, right? Guided discourse, and then of course like the walkthroughs, the visits across from them coming. They visited, some of the high school team visited some of our teachers recently, and we're going on Thursday to see them. So that's always great to see the teachers in action and be able to share ideas. And then the other big piece, which we always like to look at, is our data, right? And how we're going to continue to look and improve where it's, where we need to improve in our strategies. So in that data, we are looking at our DNF rates. We're looking at the changes and monitoring of the data every 6 weeks, including with our SPED students and our ELs is in that data. We compare the data between our travel team, which is 3 of our teachers, versus our district-wide team. We look at identifying the strategies and what I spoke to, identifying strategies that we need to improve in as well. And then the biggest piece that we like to talk is the reflection. How's it going? What is working? What's not working? How can we adjust and move forward? And that's constant, ongoing. But tonight I have with me 2 of the members of our team. But Anissa was going to speak to her experience, that collaboration piece, that PLC model that happens within our own school district team, but also that collaboration piece with the high school. She's also going to talk about the instructional impact with this collaboration and with Math on Track. And then her experience with the walkthroughs coming up, and that. So Anissa Acuna, she's a Lad Wayne teacher. She teaches 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math at Lad Wayne. So here we are, and then we have Kelly, her little sidekick here. She is an 8th grade teacher that teaches math 8 and algebra at Leeds.
Hello. Hello, trustees, Superintendent Sanchez, and President Khan. My name is Anissa Acuna. I'm the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teacher at Lad Wayne. So I teach all levels of math at the middle school level. I am here to share our collaboration with Math on Track with Hollister High School and the 8th grade teachers in the Hollister School District. This is my 2nd year being a part of it, and I've seen a lot of positivity come from it during our grade level PLCs, involving teachers and the district. In our 2nd year, we implemented several changes, including the transition from grade regrading periods to a continuous gradebook to align our grading system with that of the high school. This transition was collaboratively developed to help our 8th grade students smoothly transition to the high school grading system based on the data indicating that most freshmen struggle in their first year of high school due to the dramatic changes in the grading expectations. Another topic that was collaborated on was our no-show charts. These no-show charts were introduced to us by the California education partners that we use for Math on Track to help us create clear expectations of what students should know based on the foundational skills taught in previous lessons, and to demonstrate mastery and standard being tested. In the 8th grade collaboration, we have created a no-show chart for 11 standards that are covered in 8th grade. And we will continue to develop them for the remaining standards in our upcoming PLCs. Our hope with these no-show charts is to identify areas where gaps in academic vocabulary and skills may occur and review those areas to help students progress towards mastery. With these charts, we've also created a common assessment for each of these standards. These common assessments are shared among anyone in the district using a system called Pear Assessment, which is formerly known as Edulastic, which is an assessment application found on the Clever platform. It's free to anyone with access to it. During our collaborations with the high school, we have learned and reteaches, which is the support that we 8th grade teachers struggle to find time for due to our daily time constraints and the student schedules and the lack of resources for specific math intervention time and math coaches. With math intervention, we can identify students who are struggling and provide them with targeted support to meet their learning styles and their needs. With math coaches, we can support teachers who need assistance with the curriculum and provide valuable resources on how to help students more effectively in the classroom. This is beneficial to students in the future because we'll be able to identify their gaps early on and help them advance through in the later years. We've also found that the high school receives a great deal of support from its teachers, thanks to math coaches who are also classroom teachers. They're not real time, they're in the classroom teaching at the same time as their teachers that they're coaching, as well as non-mandated monthly trainings provided by the San Benito County Math Initiative, also known as SBCMI. Their math coaches and teachers have a pacing guide that is based on topics and standards, supporting teachers in staying on track throughout the year. Their coaches also support reteaching, interventions, and guided discussions to further assist students into achieving mastery. There are pacing guides for our 8th grade and Algebra 1 that provide resources and strategies aligned with the high school or that we have created for in Hollister School District based on the relevant topics and standards as well. So it's fully aligned based on that. However, it is only offered to teachers who participate in SBCMI. With that being said, it seems essential to have more consistency throughout the district and align with the pacing guide so that students are learning the same material at the same time throughout the entire district. In our next steps in collaboration, we've begun conducting cross-district peer walkthroughs to share ideas and methods, as well as to collaborate with other teachers in the district and at the high school. We have one on Thursday. You get this at the high school. Fostering growth as a community and as a whole. We're excited to continue collaborating as a group with the high school and explore ways to help our students improve in math and at middle school level. Thank you.
So the high school does the SBC?
They do, yes. All most Algebra 1 teachers, pre-algebra teachers do attend the meetings during the summer and throughout the year.
And the high school has math coaches or math coaches that are teachers?
So they have like math coaches.
They have 2 math coaches that are half-time math coach, half-time classroom teacher. So my understanding is that one of them is a math coach on A days and one of them is math coach on B days. And that way the coach is always available to go into the classrooms as needed.
Thank you.
All right, Jen Miller's up next.
All right, and we're going to continue talking about what we're doing about math right now. So I'll be talking a little bit about what we're doing with Eureka Math Squared rollout. So as you know, this year we updated the curriculum with the Eureka Math Squared, and we gave our teachers a half-day PD in the curriculum this summer in August. That's going to follow with another PD coming up here in January, which will go ahead and provide more support as they've rolled out the program. We also have instructional rounds where we come around to the classrooms with a group of SPED educators or SPED administrators, our curriculum instruction administrators, and also the site admin, and we go to view what's going on in the classroom. Specifically, if we see math classrooms, we're looking to see how progress is going with that. Also, part of our program is going through doing walkthroughs with, or like I have been able to do walkthroughs with the Grade Minds representative, who goes through and gives me an idea of how we're doing with implementation of the program to date, and then addresses needs that we need to follow up with on our next training. So it gives me some guidelines on what to do there as well as lets me know when I'm doing my walkthroughs with the admin, what we should be looking for in the programs. In addition to that, we had one really fun migrant family night that was based on Eureka Math Squared. And the rep helped us put that together, and we are hoping to roll that out to more schools. It was a pretty popular event, and like I said, a lot of fun for families to participate in. We also have a school-wide survey that we're sending out to sort of gauge what our needs are as we get ready to gear up for our January quarter day
so that's our rollout for Eureka. And I think for that, the most part, the big picture there is just making sure that we remember that we are rolling out an updated curriculum this year, and we're making sure that we're supporting our teachers as we do that rollout. The other piece that we've been working on is the improvement cycle, the improvement science cycle, and that was put together by 3 different teams. So we have our administrative teams, we have the differentiated assistance team, which Colleen talked a little bit about, and we also have what we used to call the SPED Ed team, but that's the special education and the Ed Services Department collaborating together to look at what the needs are in mathematics. So what we did was, as Colleen mentioned earlier, a large fishbone project, or the way that improvement science process works is you begin by doing an analysis of what the problem of practice is. And for us at the time, and still is the problem of practice, is why are students underperforming in math? So that's a key question we ask everyone in our meetings, and everyone gets a chance to write down on sticky notes what that reason is. Then you take all of those sticky notes and you start to combine them and find out how many of them are the same and similar. And those all go onto the bone of the fish. And then from there, you identify some of those key areas and you start to drill down on those and ask why. Why is that an issue? What is causing that? And as soon as you get to the bottom of those whys, then you have an actionable item. And so if you could imagine 3 different committees working on 3 separate projects, all of us bringing those together and finding 5 key areas to focus on. And so that's what you're seeing right here. So number one thing that came up, which was very interesting and unexpected, is that our teachers and our admin are saying that behavior is inhibiting the teacher's ability to teach in the first place. They're so overwhelmed with the behaviors of the classroom at the time, especially when we were doing this, that they were unable to feel like they could address the curriculum like they wanted to. And so we, in order to address math, looked at behavior. And so we started, yeah, sure.
If the curriculum is bad, if the lesson is bad, behavior is going to go crazy. That's a basic concept of teaching. If you have a bad lesson, expect poor behavior. A lesson drives the behavior. The best compliment a teacher can get, boy, that period was bad. So right there, it's a bad lesson. And that's what makes the behavior go up.
I would say that there was a lot more going on at that time than just the lessons, because this was going on as we're coming out of COVID. We were seeing just
I'm talking about like today or yesterday. I'm not talking about what happened in COVID. I'm talking about, I thought you were going from what you have just seen recently.
Right. Well, I can tell you recently we've seen a lot of improvement. So I'll go back to that. But we did, so coming out of COVID, this was all our focus. And so coming out of that, we're seeing these low math scores and we're seeing these behavior issues and wanted to make sure to address it. So because of that, we started, oh my goodness, we started so many things, but we really were supported by the MTSS and the PBIS process. We began monthly behavior messages for teachers with lessons and things that they could do with their classes. Emma Beltry has been doing a whole entire series on behavior, addressing behaviors in the classroom, especially for new teachers. And so that's been helping too. And then, of course, we have our SPED department, which is also addressing it with their series on Tier 1 behavior support. So because of this whole process, why are students underperforming in math? We unrolled 3 huge programs to help support with behaviors. And as you saw, and Colleen was showing, the suspensions have gone down in that chart. And if we can keep at that same rate, we're looking at definitely an improvement this year over the past. As well as, and I know you're going to hear more about the PBIS and our schools that have received awards for PBIS and MTSS. So we are making improvements in that area, although I don't want to speak to it entirely, but I know that's something that will be coming. So the next thing that they focused on was data-informed instruction. So the teams all said we take assessments, but we're not really looking at the data. What data are we looking at? What are we analyzing? So teams began going into the classrooms as well as saying, hey, where are the admin? Are they coming to visit our schools? Are they seeing these lessons? Do they see what's going on? And so we made a commitment to go into the schools 3 times a year and take a look at what's going on, not just during math lessons, but everything going on during the day, and get a glimpse of what our classes are looking at. We're going to classes with our ELs, so we're looking at ELD classes. We're also looking at math classes, and we're looking at special education classes, and we're going with our SPED team, and we're looking specifically at items that they have targeted that they want to see that would be appropriate at this time of the year, and addressing things like pacing and, of course, behavior, because that's one of our focuses. So everything that we're looking at for how are we going to improve math in our district is also something that we're looking at as we're going through classrooms and discussing what is changing, what is not changing, where are our teachers, where are our students right now, and then what do we need to do. So those walkthroughs end with us meeting together and talking about what we've seen, as well as looking at the student data and analyzing the student data and starting to make shifts in what we do. So in addition to that, we are also have professional development, which we already talked about. So that's supporting our teachers with Eureka Mathsquare. Because as you know, anytime you roll out, even though we already had Eureka Math, rolling out something new, the curriculum is different, the teachers feel like the curriculum is different, so they need the support with those programs. So it's also making sure to provide that support with that. And one of the pieces that we haven't delved into yet that we're looking forward to delving into is how do we support our multilingual learners with mathematics, because that's, as you can see, was a problem for them. And one of the reasons that came out from every single one of those committees was that the students don't understand what's being asked of them. So they need assistance with the vocabulary, they need the support, support with understanding exactly what the problem is, what are they asking, so that the student can answer the question. So that's a piece that we're developing right now. And then the biggest piece, and I'm glad this is the final piece that I'm going to be addressing, because it's the one I'm working on the most, is aligning instruction with the standards and state expectations. Every single one of those committees also wanted to see FIABs in the schools. We have seen that when students are taking IEBs, and not just taking an IEB, but when a teacher administers an IEB to the class and then analyzes the data from the IEB and lets that inform their instruction and uses it for whether they're going to do work with a small group of students on one concept or do tickets out the door based on what the student performance is, we have seen huge gains in math, and that's what you're going to see coming out of Rancho San Justo this year, because that's exactly what they did. So we actually put this assessment on our district assessment calendar, and so everyone had to give a math IEB this year. And up to date, and I did pull this, we have 3,923 IEBs given this year. So that has made an enormous difference. But now it's not just giving the IEBs, because now the teachers have given them, but it's giving them that support. What does that tell you about your class? How do you look at the data? Where do you see the data? And how do you let that drive instruction? So that's where I call it the roadshow, and I go into the staff meetings and I sit down with the teachers and we start opening up the tests and looking at it, and I show them exactly here's how your kids are doing, and here's what you can do to support them. So those are, in a nutshell, you asked what are we doing with math? All of the things that we're doing with math right now. So it's a large project that we're working on, and we are very focused on improving scores for math, not just for all students, but we're also specifically, and I think you can see this because of our partnership with the SPED department, we're really looking at what we can do to support our special education students, and we're really looking at what we can do to support our multilingual learners.
Jen, before you go, I just want to say thank you for modeling the program improvement science.
Yeah.
And you calling it too, program improvement science. I had the privilege of working with the Carnegie Foundation in Stanford on program improvement science, and the fishbone idea and everything else. That works. But the fact that you're actually teaching the other teachers how to do that, and the administrators how to do that, then this process of us improving, we're analyzing how we're improving. So that science is being applied, and I really appreciate it. And the fact that you're looking at our schools with our kids, and you're seeing that we have some schools that are really doing good in math and really doing good in language arts, And then we have our English learners are doing really good, some of them. But the fact that you're analyzing them, sharing it, and modeling that we're going to look at this in a latitudinal and longitudinal way. We're going to go broad and we're going to go deep, and then we're going to share it with everybody. It's amazing. I am so stinking impressed.
So have we, as a district, moved away from doing PLCs and it becoming more coach or coordinator or whatever director? Because some of the things you're talking about are what is part of the PLC model, but people either at their own grade level or at their site, talking about problem solving.
Right, so the groups are, we don't have the district-wide PLCs, although there is an interest to, it's more of a autonomous scenario for teacher groups to come together. I think it does happen. It is the #1 request for the PM session on January 4th, 5th, for school sites to reboot their PLCs. And it's in between that and having this one come back and do FIABs. So we'll see who wins. But yes, and how are we looking at that? So in our California Ed Partners, they are the ones that are structuring our Math on Track. They have some guidance as far as, the model that our Math on Track group is doing, that collaboration, and how can we replicate that for other things. That's our goal for in the future. ELA, grade levels, and whatnot, kind of rebooting it so that we can foster new energy into it, because we've been PLCing for a while, but now how are we looking and how are we calibrating? Because we've over and over we've asked, we need, please have your grade level design a pacing guide or a map, and it's just over and over and over. But what Anissa was describing earlier, the no-show charts, that really gets momentum, because as a group, what do we want them to know? And what do we want them to show? And then negotiate it. And what kind of vocabulary do we want down there? Now everybody go teach this lesson over the next week or whatever, and these are the standards. So now everybody's calibrated as to what the standard is asking, really understanding the standard, and that really supports our new teachers in understanding the new subject and whatnot. Does that answer your question?
Well, it's kind of on the PLC.
Right.
Well, I think what I was referring to is, the PLCs were, and I was part of some, and I've observed others, teachers who can look at an assessment that was given, and they dissect that assessment, and they find groups of students who struggled here, groups of students who struggled there, and success here and there. And then they did some, amongst themselves, they decided, are we going to do some regrouping? Do we change how we reteach it? That kind of a thing. And then they come back and they look at the same kids again, and that sort of thing, kind of giving teachers more agency over what they did, but also it had them practicing their own skill within how do I, dissect this test to really figure out what my kids don't know, number sense, math facts, whatever, vocabulary, whatever it might be. So that's what I was.
Yes, and I think the extra early days are perfect for that, and I think that there are many members that would agree with me that just with a little guidance and structure, that could take place, and especially when we're doing an FIAB. If we get a cadence of a monthly FIAB, imagine the conversations when you have the entire 5th grade together, and we're going to talk about, a math FIAB or an ELA, and now we're all calibrated on those standards. So absolutely, yep, a lot of value there.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I just want to say a big thank you to the Unled team support, the Ed Services and the Student Services and the Special Ed team for their intestinal fortitude and supporting the students. And I also want to know, do I get a prize for the longest presentation?
She took all your minutes, folks. Okay, we are on agenda item 11B. Student Nutrition Department
before we begin, I just wanted to acknowledge too, if you have any questions or thoughts or concerns as I'm going on the presentation, please stop and interrupt me at any point. With this, before I get into the details of the presentation, I just want to give you a brief explanation of how the food service / cafeteria fund operates. Cafeteria fund is a restricted fund similar to those of migrant fundings, where we only can spend our funds in a certain way. For example, we can only spend our funds on equipment or salaries or items that will generally run and fund our department. So for example, the central kitchen, we cannot pay for the electrical or the plumbing, but I can pay for the equipment of the oven itself. It's not an allowable expense out of the cafeteria fund. So just keep that in mind as we go through the presentation. We get our own funding through federal and state. We receive our funding through the percentage for breakfast, a percentage for lunch, and a percentage for snack. That alone covers all of our costs throughout the food service program. In addition, we every 5 years the food service program is audited through it's an S&P audit, student nutrition program audit. That historically took place every 3 years pre-COVID. Post-COVID, they adjusted it to every 5 years, and we just finished that 5th year cycle of an audit, and that was for the 24-25 school year, which we did. They audited Sunny Slope School, Rancho Santana, and Tres Pinos, as we do oversee the rural schools of San Diego County. So that was the only one selected in that aspect. Okay. You can see on the slide here, this is our team. We have a department of slightly under 40, 38 members to be exact at this time, which equates to around 243 labor hours per day to run this program. New positions added this year, we added 3. Those 3 being a 4-hour position at Sunny Slope because we saw an increase in enrollment as well as meal serve, the TK and SPED. In addition to those new positions, we added a secretary position to our department, and then we also added a built-in, it's a student nutrition worker, and that is a built-in float. Because with a team of roughly 40, I constantly have somebody absent every day. Today, for example, we had about 6 or 7 people out, and that equates to about 15% of our staff. Next year, or upcoming positions, I would say this current fiscal year, we are looking at adding 2 more, those 2 being an additional 4-hour position, such as the one at Sunny Slope. This will be for HTLA. So we're seeing an increase in our new served. Our other position will be for a manager position. So as the department starts to expand, us adding classified positions, and also as we get closer to the central kitchen being built, we will be adding 5 to 7 positions there. So the next step will be to add a manager, similar to that in business and in maintenance and operations. Next slide. Every day, what we do, we serve a reimbursable meal. So what does a reimbursable meal mean? That means we have to offer 5 components. Those 5 components being milk is an option, and that is its own alone only option milk. We offer a meat and meat alternative, grain, and then a fruit or vegetable. For lunch, students have to take one or the other fruit or vegetable as one of their 3 options. So that's what creates a reimbursable meal. And with universal meals, that allows the student to have a free meal, hence why we don't have to charge. Now, we do have a charging policy in place for when a student wants to have an additional meal, take an additional breakfast, additional lunch. When you look at those meals served, the first column, you'll see that's the 24-25 school year, and that is meals served from August through October of last year. The comparison will be to 25 and 26 of this year to date. So you'll see how it references back to breakfast, lunch, and snack. The final column, 24-25 school year, is the overall meals served for the entire school year. Next year, when I can bring you another update, you will see that 25-26 meal count adjusted next to 24-25. And then at the bottom, we see our daily average. That is roughly, we do roughly around 6,000 to 7,000 meals a day. This data is based off October, and then we are slowly seeing that curve climb up to a little bit higher. Especially on certain days, we do pizza days on Wednesdays, you're going to see our meals go up. We're going to serve closer to 9,000 or 10,000 meals those days because that is a fan favorite. All kids love pizza. New legislature. So here you will find a lot of the new legislature. YMCA, top trending articles. There will be adjustments in different sugar content, sodium targets, target 1, 2, and 3, right? Those were happening, they were in place pre-COVID, and they were targeted to 22, 23, 24 school year. And that also went hand in hand with scratch meal. Schools are required to do 40% scratch-based meals, which we currently do that. This also goes in with just the general meal patterns that are required for K-5, K-8, and 9 through 12. Out of all of these options listed on this new legislature, we are already in compliance of that. I'm not worried about any of these new updated legislatures. Something you may see on there is the new restrictions to added sugars to milk per se. For example, for milk, we have to offer two different types of milk fats. So we offer fat-free and 1%. Our fat-free is typically the flavored milk, which would be chocolate. You will see that there is a requirement of it can only be X amount of grams that can be added sugar. And the vendors are already preparing and going forward with all of that. So our child nutrition vendors that we purchase from, school products will have a CN label, which is a child nutrition label, and that will dictate that it is child nutrition compliant. Those are for items that you may see in our snack program, or even if you see the pack of sunflower seeds, or some type of even like a bagel, something that we don't make and bake particularly from scratch, right? Next, for our community, we have a ton of community partnerships. So for every single school site of ours, we do offer a snack program, and those snack programs vary, whether it be with the YMCA, the Alliance, or CASA. And on the school site, it varies on the community partner that we work with, and that goes into that count of those 900 snacks roughly that we make every day. We also work with the San Diego County Office of Education. So that was that rural route that I was explaining how Tres Pinos was selected for our audit. For those schools, we service 6 of the county schools. That takes about 6 hours roughly of an employee in our department to prepare the meals here on site and drive all the way out for the site being Pinoche, right? And it varies: Tres Pinos, Cienega, Bitterwater, Foley, Jefferson, Willow Grove. We spend more time driving necessarily than we do on site delivering those meals, but we are very happy to provide that service because we are allowing and providing those kids a nutritious meal, which they may not have the ability to do on site. We also service the ECE Center every day, and we also provide meals every day. We deliver 3 days a week, but provide meals every day for the county library. And then lastly, we help source and deliver for the food pantries. So our current food pantries are Sunny Slope, Mays, and Ranches and Houston. I'm excited to announce that tomorrow Calaveras AAA goes live with their food pantry. So we do make our donations directly to them from our food program, along with assisting with the delivery from the food pantry. Central Kitchen, the exciting news that we had just heard in the last board meeting. So Erin and I have met with Kaya last week, and we have gotten an update, a little bit tighter timeline of what we can expect of when to see the kitchen start building to end. So they are looking at breaking ground, right? Physically breaking ground. This is to build, not coordinating off the back, not prepping the construction area. We're looking for that to start in April 2026, assuming all permitting and guidelines go as planned. If everything goes on target as planned, the build, as you can see in the bottom photo, that is the prefabricated look of what we think the kitchen's going to look like at this moment. That will be ready in October 2026. I would imagine, my timeline would tell me from building central kitchens in the past that I would imagine we get the keys for the central kitchen in January, right? Because you're still going to jump through health permitting. Anything goes wrong, right? Anything, that air gap in the sink is slightly off. It could be in numerous things. Construction can always get tied up and delayed at some point. So I would imagine seeing this in January. Now, what that means to me is we won't see as a district that kitchen in full throttle until the next school year. Even though we're going to see it potentially built and open and ready to roll in January 2027, we will not use it in full force until August of 2027. Simply because I have to put my food reserve, so you have an understanding of how our program works. Every February, so this upcoming February, I have to make a allocation to exactly where I want all my pounds of chicken, all my pounds of tomatoes, cheese, what distributors I want them to go to. And then I work with USDA So I have to make that determination. I'm working on that in December. And then I'm confirming exactly where I want it to go to in February. So with that being said, we have to do that for the next school year. So this year, my items are already committed, right? Last February, they were committed. And I'm dealing with what was committed then. So that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm gonna have the product to start from scratch, right? And we're gonna also ease those new hire employees in. We're gonna be making 5 to 7 new positions, and they're gonna look a little bit differently than what our average day-to-day student nutrition worker is used to dealing with, right? They're gonna have additional food service training, food safety, right? They're gonna have to learn how to, build things from scratch, working with raw meats. They don't currently do that as we speak, right? But they will get the training, and they will be able to do that once we get to that point.
Yeah, because you're talking about bulk cooking now.
Making our own sauces, maybe baking, everything. And like, don't get me wrong, our sites are doing a lot of scratch cooking. They're doing as much as our facilities currently allow them to do. But most of these employees started in a warming type setup kitchen, so they've come a long way from the food service department 15 years ago. Right, so we will get there. It's just the kitchen may be built in January, but that'll be my time to slowly ease and train and build that next year's menu out, because we're buying and producing and getting product, and we're forecasting for the next year. I've already got this year planned. I'm already looking for next year of what exactly I'm going to serve and how I'm going to serve it.
Do you know how many kids we're supposed to have? How many kids we're supposed to have for next year? The demographer's report does report an increase. Okay. So
Yeah.
he also has to look at that too.
Correct. And with universal meals, right, we've seen a slow trend upward of an increase in meals served. Because universal meals came out in 21, 22, well, by the time parents hear about it, the school districts are pushing it out to the sites. That changes, right, for parents to still understand that it is free, right? Through Hollister School District, for a while we had CEP years back, and it was breakfast was free for all, right? It takes a few years for that to fully reach to the parents and for them to understand, and because school food was historically glazed with that, that stigma, right? Free lunch. It was only certain, qualified families, right? And that is not necessarily the case this year. However, next year you will see that this time next year we will be pushing for our free and reduced applications all over again, because we are on a cycle year, and it's based off CEP, community eligibility provision, and it runs on a 4 to 5 year cycle. Next year falls again in our base year cycle, so we will be pushing that over and over. And sometimes just naturally, hand in hand, that goes with the stigma again, right? Every time that gets resurfaced, and we do our best to try to discourage that, but it is what it is, right? You need it, or else you have to have funding. Here's a little deeper view of the central kitchen. It slightly changed a little bit from probably the initial report you saw. The initial report that was probably brought to you last school year was around a 6,000 square foot kitchen. It has been reduced to a 4,000 square foot. The layout of the working portion of the kitchen has not changed. It just changed where it took away an additional office, it took away a conference room, and a demo kitchen. So it really did not affect that workable space.
Did you keep those lockers for Jan?
Oh yes, those lockers, they're right in there. They're going to be right in that pinkish area. So they're going to be next to the break room. You can ask Erin. That was brought up during our meeting with Kaya. Yes. And this may change, right? This is just the shell. This is the very beginning. We meet with Kaya. There's about 4 or 5 more meetings throughout this process, and we'll finalize that breakdown of the layout and every tiny detail as to what is the walls, what type of the flooring.
Do they actually can give you like a simulation so that you can actually do a walkthrough?
I would imagine so as we get closer.
So that you can actually kind of visually see, okay, this is really what makes sense. Right?
I don't believe it'll be a live simulation like a video game per se, but it'll give you a picture of, at least that's what it was in my prior district architectural firm. You could see everything to exactly what the floor is going to look like, to the floor plan, and what happens if we turn this table this way or turn it back, right?
It's like a 3D.
Yeah. And we'll get, and as I get more, updates, I'll be sharing that with Superintendent Sanchez and, the board and whatnot.
Perfect.
Yeah. Sums it up. I told you it'd be short and sweet, so any questions?
Oh, good job. We're excited.
Yeah.
We're very excited too.
Yes.
Excited.
Yes.
I just wanted to commend you. It appears that
you know, you've been here such a short period of time, and your learning curve must have been going straight up.
Yeah, we're on month 5, and so I gathered pictures that I had for that one size for 5 months. I'm new to this district, but I'm not new to this profession. I've been doing it for 9 years, so previously in Gilroy, and then before Morgan Hill, but thank you. Because the concept of every district is different protocols, different procedures, yes.
Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to do the special luncheon for the Sun Slope staff.
Oh, yes.
You know, and I heard
Taco bar is so popular.
Yes, yes, and it was very much appreciated by the staff. I'm talking with you about.
And I hope that, I know Superintendent Sanchez has shared it with you, but I hope that you'll be able to make it on Thursday for our Thanksgiving feast. Oh,
yeah. I won't
they're gonna
be
miss
able
you,
to be
Jan.
there, but that has always been one of my favorite days, but I'm not gonna be able to make it this
Yeah, so
year.
we're doing the full Thanksgiving pie, the whole show.
I'm gonna be a sampler now, I'm sorry.
Well, we got you at some stuff, so it's okay.
My spirit will be.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on now to agenda item number 12, which is our superintendent's report for November.
All right, tonight we have a very brief superintendent's report, and let's see if I'd like to thank Javier and Cassie from the IT department that are here with us tonight, and I know that they are doing a fabulous job, and here comes the clicker. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see. So our enrollment is steady. As you can see, we report this out at every board meeting. It is freezing, yes.
How many more kids do we have right now?
Erin, can you turn the heater up just a tiny bit for us, please? We're freezing up here.
How many more during this time from last year?
How many, not off the top of my head, but I could get that number. So November
Just to kind of
25 to November
have
24.
an idea of how much we're.
Okay, I will get that to you. Okay. So in progress, I thank you so much for the heat and the facilities. What we're doing is that we are working on increasing our focus on safety. That includes student and staff safety. Part of that includes the live scanning of potential volunteers. So to date, there have been 390 interested folks that have been fingerprinted and have been approved to volunteer district-wide. I think that shows that our community is interested in participating in their children's education, and I just commend all parents, grandparents, and folks associated to our students that are taking their time to volunteer. Also, we have in place the Verkada visitor check-in system. It's up and running at all the school sites. With that, it includes the cameras that go with it, the day-to-day badging that's issued to the volunteers, the screening that happens in that moment to ensure that the school site knows that that person is clear to check in. So that is a major upgrade for our district. Also, we have up and coming a new Senate bill, which is Senate Bill 848, which takes effect January 2026. And this is where we will be working as a team to roll this out. It not only includes different types of safety aspects, but one that will be shared with the volunteers that I just mentioned, but also with the trustees, is the need to take the mandated reporter training. Some trustees have already taken that in their own capacity and in their own jobs. However, the 390 volunteers will have to take a mandated reporter training as well. And we as a district will have to keep track of that, issue that, and so on. So we will be working on that, and we're verifying the modules that will apply to meet that new Senate bill.
So as long as the board has done the mandatory reporting training, we're good.
You're clear.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. So there's also in progress an association with Assembly Bill 1390, and this was just approved not too long ago. We will dive deeper into it in the discussion action item, and the reason why I'm listing it here is because I know that sometimes by the time we get to discussion action item, folks in the audience leave, so I wanted to address it earlier on in the presentation, the Board of Trustees dedicates dozens of hours, I would say, potentially per month, either going to the school sites, going to community events, sitting in the audience, or sitting here at the dais, reading the material that comes from a board meeting. In California, the remuneration, the compensation for trustees has not been updated in 40 years. That is not keeping up with inflation, with COLA, with anything. So, unionization going on over here. Oh, I thought you said we're gonna form a union. So board bylaw 9250 currently exists in the district. What we have later on tonight is a review and a discussion of our current board bylaw to meet Assembly Bill 1390. The current compensation rate is a whole $33.33, and it has been that way for some time now, and it has not been addressed. However, this new Assembly Bill allows for compensation for trustees to be increased to up to $1,200 a month, and that is based on our enrollment. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I want it to be clearly explained. It has not been increased in 40 years. And
well,
so
when I first started in
yes.
2012, I didn't get anything.
Yes.
And so, because I didn't take the health benefits, I got zero.
Yes.
But only because the requirement to participate
Yes.
in the benefits, we had to be part employee, and to be part employee, the minimum was to earn $340 a year, so whatever it is annually, right? So that's how the 33.33 came out.
And sometimes when you calculate the hours we put in, we make $1.79 an hour. That's below minimum wage.
It sure is. It sure is. So that'll be later on the agenda.
Well, the other problem is that when Kathy and I ran the last time, we didn't even have anybody oppose it. And the idea, the reason that the legislature did this is because nobody's running for school board.
We gotta do something.
Okay. Also in progress, and we will also discuss this later on, is the cell phone away for the day. We have a current board policy. Tonight we will hear public comment on and discuss a new board policy that we have worked with legal counsel to create. It will be board policy 5138.8. This is the first public session where we will discuss this board policy before taking action upon it. Additionally, we are going to begin working in the near future on the Hollister Prep School Charter renewal process. That process will take place. It is a lengthy process. We will work with legal counsel to review that charter petition and move forward from there. Again, that will be up and coming. Here we go. We want to thank the student nutrition staff. Trustee Cheryl Rios mentioned this. We had on October 30th a taco cart, and this was made possible by more people than appear in these pictures. But what this was to celebrate the staff at Sunny Slope for their great accomplishments on their student scores for last school year. So the student nutrition team pulled together and they fed delicious tacos, rice, beans, churros, and a whole banquet of food. And it was a great opportunity to serve our staff. Yeah. And I want to thank everyone and wish them all a wonderful break, a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. So, any questions for me? All right. Nice and short.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 13, which are consent items. Do I have a motion to approve our consent items?
I'll make a motion to to approve consent items A through J. Oh, sorry. K. A through J.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay, roll call vote, trustee Tosti?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Gris?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 14, approval of the board meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the board, minute meetings for October 28th, 2025.
Thank you. Second, anybody?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote, trustee Tosti?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez? Trustee Gris?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well, motion carries. Moving on now to our discussion and action items, we're on agenda number 15A, discussion and approval of Hollister Prep School facilities.
Is that new car on the back?
No.
Oh,
Sorry.
I have two, is that also 15A? We have three for 15.
Okay.
The presentation.
Okay. Okay, so good evening, board. Tonight we have the annual consideration and approval of the Hollister Prep School agreement, and this is a facilities agreement for the 2026-2027 school year. On behalf of CEO Caprice Young and her staff, we are, yep. I will pause.
Yes.
The false alarm is just because of the heater. The heater's on.
Thank you. Okay, so coming back to the agenda item on behalf of Caprice Young and her staff, we present tonight the consideration of the annual facilities use request and agreement. HPS has submitted all of the appropriate documentation for this request. There is a series of documents that they must turn in prior to or along with this request. They have fulfilled that requirement. As the board may remember, this is something that gets approved annually. It is based on language for Proposition 39 and California Education Code, where we, as a district, are required to provide classrooms that reasonably accommodate the program. So if there are not any questions, we can go into public comment.
Okay, I have three cards. The one with the little boy, I think you want to go first, right?
We'd love to.
Are you Tina?
What?
Are you Tina?
No, I'm Kristen.
Okay, so you go.
Okay.
You start.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. My husband is Robert Rivas. He's in the state legislature and he travels a lot, so it's a little tricky with the childcare.
Okay. Oh, yes.
So I just wanted to comment on the cell phone policy. I didn't know how many parents would show up.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
You're not 15A, you're on the cell phone policy?
Yep, I'm 15A, yeah.
That
Wait,
one is,
oh, did I misunderstand what it was?
D.
HR were unavailable to be here tonight. So we are here wanting to express in person our continued progress towards finding facility solutions that benefit both our friends and colleagues at our Hardin and the Wolfpack families at Hollister Prep School. We know the challenges of sharing a space do not decrease over time, but only are exacerbated as we continue to grow. We again appreciate the patience and collaboration that we see from our neighbors, and as Dr. Young has shared, we are in conversations with the school district leadership. We continue to the long process of obtaining our own site. We are currently working with the city of Hollister on a conditional use permit for long-term facilities that we've been pursuing. We have worked towards getting the traffic reports done as well. And as you know, facilities projects are not easy and or quick. So we know that this is tough, and again, we thank you for your time and commitment. Our team is watching the live stream. If you have any questions, we can try to text through if we don't have the answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any discussion?
We have one more speaker.
Yeah. Oh, well, Rachel. Okay.
Hello, board. I just wanted to come up and advocate for R.O. Hardin, and I hope that the board and also the district administrators are collaborating with the staff at R.O. Hardin and always including them in any decisions that are made on their campus. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any discussion about 15A?
What exactly are we doing for 15? I thought we were gonna have a presentation, no?
There will be a presentation when we present the charter, when the charter petition is requested. What this is an annual agreement to allow the public to meet Proposition 39 language, to meet Ed Code language with the existing charter school, which is HPS, to continue to use the R.O. Hardin campus and the R.O. Hardin classrooms that have been allocated to HPS, and the facilities structure as is. As the staff at HPS have shared, myself and Deputy Superintendent Ward, CBO Wilson, Director Bazetta, we have all met with and continue to meet with HPS staff to receive their updates as to what their progress is in searching for facilities within our community, and we see that they are attempting to seek solutions, and that is an accurate statement. We work with them, and I know that Principal Espinosa does the best that she can with the situation as is. I think that both schools are at capacity based on the current facilities that we have there on Line Street.
Okay, any other discussion? No? Okay, do I have a motion to approve 15A?
I'll make a motion to approve 15A.
Second. Okay, roll call vote. Trustee Tosti?
Aye.
Trustee Rios? Aye. Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Bliss? Aye. And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries. Moving on now to 15B, Kristen. So, first, do we have a discussion with the board at all?
Let's
Okay.
Sorry, I'd like to have the public comment go so that.
Yeah. If you guys don't mind me making a little noise, you can, if you wanna go first.
You need to go.
Okay, sorry.
We're moms.
And
grandma.
Yeah. Okay, so just, I just thank you so much for having me and allowing me to speak. And so really I just wanted to be, I didn't know if any other parents the teachers having a hard time helping the kids with their math scores because behaviors are difficult. I so strongly believe that a huge contributor to the difficult behaviors that teachers are experiencing in class and having a hard time managing their classrooms are because of cell phone use. I think that smartphone use is starting way too young in children. Yes, my kid is running around right now during this meeting and it's hard to manage him, but I'm not gonna give him a phone because he's only 2, right? I'm gonna bring a book, I'm gonna bring quiet activities, I'm gonna do what I can. And yes, that's harder as a parent when we're out to dinner or when we're trying to be at a meeting or something, but if I let him be on a phone with headphones on and just disconnecting from the world right now, beginning at such a young age, and so many kids are, I would be doing such a huge disservice to him in the long run. I'm sure that you guys all know, I'm sure I do not have to tell you all of the statistics of how detrimental all of the smartphone use is to kids' brains and their social emotional health and their future mental health and their anxiety. I think it just my 2-year-old up past his bench, like, I can't see myself while I'm talking, sorry. But I just feel so strongly that, and I know that it's not up to you guys as a school board what decisions parents are making at home with their kiddos. I understand that. I understand there's, only so much you guys can do, but I just hope that you'll take into consideration that, like, let's at least not have them be on screens and not have access to screens at school. But also, I just wanted to suggest maybe trying to send home more educational materials on the detriments of cell phone use, because I'm just not sure if all parents are seeing it, if they've got the time to be, reading the articles and looking at the statistics, and it's new in our generation, right? I didn't have a cell phone when I was in high school, and in my lifetime, now all of a sudden high school kids do. So I also just wanted to throw that one out as a suggestion.
Second grade and first grade.
It's awful. It's awful. We don't want our kiddo around other kiddos that have them, and it's so difficult. I'm sure you guys know all of that. I don't have to say it, but I just, as a parent, want to make sure someone was here saying, I don't want phones at school. I don't want, I hope that we don't plan on letting our kiddos have a phone until, at least when they have their driver's license and they need it for emergencies or something. But we are going to be enforcing in our home no cell phone use, no smartphones, no social media, for as long as we possibly can. And so all I wanted to say was just, I fully support you banning cell phones as much as possible at school, and I'm even not a fan of how much they use the Chromebooks. And maybe just, I know you guys send home educational materials about how important attendance is and things like that all the schools, and I would love to see more of that with, with the statistics and information for parents to know. So I know I'm over my time, but thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion?
I like, we need to be starting to send on parents where, how detrimental cell phones are. Thank you.
And even possibly having some video trainings or some psychologists come in that we can create some trainings for the parents that are live. I think that's super important. Okay.
Yeah, also, on that same frame of mind, have, on the trainings, have like our mental health therapist, or have a child psychologist, or a pediatrician, because, I know the American Pediatricians Association, no one under 12 should even thinking about having a phone. And I sat next to a grandma today at lunch, and a first grader, this child wanted to have a play date with her grandson, and they have a phone. Well, just call me. And so grandma's like, well, I'll tell his dad, and she's associating with that family. Who runs that family, right?
Okay, do we have any more discussion on item 15B? Yes,
I'd like to just say a couple things. One, I know this was supposed to be a time for parents and community input, and here it is 8:30 at night, and we know where all of our parents should be, with their kids at home and getting them into bed. And so I would love to see something else that we as a board can do to invite the community, whether it is we take this as a discussion item to every school at a PTO meeting, have one in conjunction with our LCAT meetings, you know, something like that, and, you know, promote it through the Chamber of Commerce as well, or, you know, something like that, because I think that this is a big enough, topic of discussion, because I do agree with our speaker that, you know, the access to immediate gratification on phones or iPads, whatever, has changed, fundamentally changed our students' brains and their expectations, their social skills. And a lot of that is what teachers are seeing. It may not be the phone use in class per se, but you know, our teachers cannot give instant gratification. They cannot give instant access to every single student, depending on what might be going on in the classroom. And so I think this is a really big topic, and I think that as the school district, we need to have a very clear vision of what we expect. And is the phrase "away for the day," is that clear enough? Do we need to expand on that a little bit to make it more clear?
Look like
You know, and what are the hard and fast rules going to be? I know one of the things that we're supposed to have as an exemption to away is during emergencies. Well, I think that as a principal, as an office staff person at a school, if I had 100 parents coming or calling because there were 100 kids who said we had a major earthquake, and all it was a little rumble, you know, or we've got all these parents coming to school to pick up their kids because their kid called in and said, here's this emergency. You know, if it's a lockdown, we don't want our kids calling during a lockdown. You know, who knows who's outside the door? You can hear the voices or, you know, see the lights, you know, the phones coming off or texting or something. So I think we need to have a really clear vision. And then I think that we owe it to our community to get the word out and to get their input.
The other thing is, we haven't discussed, and I think we owe it to our school sites to have a clear way that it's going to be done at every school site, where these phones are going to go, and how they're going to be collected, and how they're going to be dispensed at the end of the day. Are they going to be period by period? Are they going to be at, you know, at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day? Who's allowed to bring them? Is there an age level? You know, is it going to be 12? Are we going to let first graders bring a phone? We haven't even touched any of that. And we need to be consistent. We've got 10 schools and 9 sites. We cannot have 9 different ways of dropping off a phone. We can't have 9 different ways of who can bring a phone. And we do not have that in this policy.
The policy itself, the law is to establish the policy. Currently, we have a board policy. We have board policy 5131 that falls under student conduct, which has a section, and I believe it's section B, that deals with cell phones. The board and superintendent years ago had the forward thinking, I would say. It was ahead of that time period to indicate to the public and to the school district and to staff and to parents that as soon as students walk into the gate of a school, the cell phone must be put away. Trustee Grist and I and a few of the other trustees have had different opportunities to visit different schools. And I know that the question has been posed to several of the principals. Do you have issues with the cell phones being out? And consistently across the school district, we have received the answer, no, it is not an issue. We definitely can have increased communication. We can share the educational tools. I wrote down the recommendations from the board. I think that those are fantastic recommendations. The issue, the cell phone itself is not causing a problem right now at the school site. I think that with this new board policy that has been written by legal counsel to reflect the new assembly bill, it is an added layer of, I would say, communication to families that cell phones are not allowed out on the school day, with the exception by the instructor, by the teacher. This new assembly bill does allow for teachers, when it is their call, their decision, to have students bring out their cell phones, and or, as Trustee Rios said, in certain cases of exception, like emergencies or based on IEPs and et cetera. So we will definitely take the board's consideration and come back and provide additional opportunities for parents to give us feedback.
Well, I would like to take it a step further, and I would like to have the site administrators come up with something that's workable for the sites that they agree upon, that, because this management of, the cell phone itself, the collection, and where they're gonna put it, how they're gonna do it, I don't think that we should be doing it. I think that the site administrators should come together and work that out among themselves, because they're the ones that are gonna have to deal with it.
The new policy as presented does not call for the collection of cell phones. It calls, I believe, it calls for the fact that they are put away. That, for example, if currently at the school site, students leave their cell phones in their backpacks and they're not coming out during the day, we're not seeing issues with it, then they would stay potentially in the backpack. If we follow Trustee Grist's recommendation, we can definitely have that conversation with the principals. If, for example, the principals indicate we're not having issues with it, we want to stay and have the same type of procedure and remind students keep it in their backpack, if that's working, then that potentially could be the decision that the principals make if we have that feedback from them.
Well, then they own it, but for Kelly, back me up here in middle school. Do you see a phone every day?
No, not usually actually.
Good.
And I'm just thinking logistics of, 500 or 600 students
Oh, I know.
bringing a phone each day. I'd rather deal with the occasional interruption from the phone. It's very occasional. I'd rather deal with that than trying to collect phones every day.
Well, then I think we should have the administrators, they call on it. Let them decide. But at least let them have that decision, the ability to say yea or nay. Because they're the ones that have to deal with it. We know.
We will have those discussions.
Yeah.
But our board policy is what we're voting on right now.
Right.
Well,
no.
the board policy will come back. This was the first opportunity for the public for us as a team to discuss it. We will bring it back in the future, in the spring, I would say, so that we can have these opportunities for public input.
Right. So we don't need to make a motion to approve this. This is just a public discussion.
Because I think, if it's going to be something that is going to be policy at some point, even shooting this out as a potential board policy to families and staff, this is what we're looking at as board policy. Do you have any feedback? Do you have any comments? Do you have any suggestions, et cetera, right? But if there are things that are already in place that are working, you know, we don't want to add more work to the administrator or to the teachers.
No.
I know in the high school it's a whole different ball of wax. So whether we told them to keep it in their backpack, it just doesn't happen. So they don't have the self-control that by the looks of it, our younger kids do, right? And I don't know whether it's consequences of, you know, getting their phone taken away, or what it is, but it, you know, because a lot of freshmen, when they get into the high school, they're used to what we do with them here. And so they have an easier transition now that we have this in place, and they admitted, I actually learn more when I don't have to worry about checking my phone or, you know, every 5 minutes, because that's that self, you know, instant gratification, or did they like my picture, or did they comment, or did they this, did they that, you know, and it's about that world for them in that moment, whether they're in school or wherever they are at, right? And that's what they've grown up in, you know. It's like for us to relate to that, it's hard because we don't know what, I mean, now we're attached to it because of work and everything else, our obligations, but as children, we didn't have the need for this, right? And so it's just trying to figure out that balance for everyone as we move forward in technology and into the future of what it means, you know, for a learning environment.
Well, the other thing is that the high school is collecting them.
We are, and that is a tremendous effort, you know, and there isn't consistency also. But again, that comes with, you know, each teacher's expectation and class management, et cetera. So those are all, and there's different methods of pockets and, you know, things that they've chosen through the district, you know, in our district to have in their classroom. But yes, it's an everyday, and I still see kids going to the bathroom, like, how do you have your phone? You know, we're just supposed to put it in the class, but they do backup phones. So they put a phony one in there to keep their real one in their pocket because they still want to go to the bathroom and do whatever it is. But again, you know, that's just, you know, we do see it. We do confiscate it. You know, but then is that going to increase our, because some of those kids end up in the OCI room, you know, for violating the policy. So again, those are all things that we have to consider, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighty.
You need to tell the site administrators that.
Yes. We'll have a discussion. Okay.
Well, I wanted to just share a couple of things. A couple years ago when I was still working at Mays, we had the Away for the Day. We had a principal who would get on the morning announcements and announce almost every morning that she had the legal right to take your phone away for 72 hours. And guess what, kids? It's Friday. If I take it away today, 72 hours of school is Tuesday or whatever it was. You know, and so it was that kind of a reminder. But I happened to have been in a classroom one day just doing an observation, and there was a substitute in the room, and there must have been at least 10 different kids in the course of 57 minutes that went out to the bathroom. As I looked out the windows, probably 5 or 6 of them I saw grabbing phones out of, so they had them in their pocket and not in their backpack. So who knows what they were doing at that time. The principal would often ask everybody to, at the end of the day, to go out at their door and monitor students leaving. And I was down the hall from Kelly, and I was out there, and, you know, I would see, if I was at the 6th grade exit, 6th graders in hordes on their phones students are just, and parents are so linked to those phones. And I think that I've read enough accounts of how cell phones can be used in such nefarious ways to destroy lives, especially of our adolescents, that, it's all fine to say that, we don't have a problem or a big problem until we do. And I remember a couple years ago when this board made the decision to put student safety over all else and canceled overnight field trips. And, I don't know the details of what went on, but there weren't problems until there was, and then it was a big one. And so I look at the cell phone potential as being the same thing, and it's something that nobody on a school site should have to deal with. A teacher, a yard duty, a principal.
And the child that's being bullied.
And so I think, we don't have a real clear avenue to forbid parents from sending phones with their students, but I do think that we have an obligation to our students to protect them, to protect the sanctity of the classroom and the school from those kinds of influences, that we have to figure out a way to securely have the phones put away. And I think that, in my mind, a simple way is everybody goes back to their first period class for the last 5 minutes. That's where your phone is. You put your phone in there first period, you pick your phone up the last 5 minutes of the day in the same class. I don't know. That's just a quick way for me to think about it, but I think that we need to think seriously about the safety of our children.
Okay. Thank you. Good discussion. Let's move on now to item 15C, discussion and approval of board policy and administrative regulations.
Good evening, board members. I did hear earlier this evening, a good morning. We are not been here that long. I know we're having a good time, but it hasn't been that long.
1 a.m. meeting, that I'll never forget.
So, this is the next in a series of board policy updates, and this doesn't exactly wrap up December of last year, because the number of updates that were coming in the student services 5,000 ended up being 40. I didn't want to stand up here and take input on 40 because I don't know if I could do that at this late hour, so we split them. Okay, you'll get some tonight, you'll get some in December. But at that point, we will be completely caught up on all of the 5,000s through the last update, but also meaning December is done. And it seems like, well, it's December coming right around the corner, but you've seen how many we've been bringing. That tells you how often CSBA updates these board policies. And since I feel like we get more out of bringing them in clusters, the 5,000s, the 6,000s, maybe the board bylaws, because they're all similar, I think we get more out of it when we bring them like that. So things are sort of broken up. So the only outlier here tonight, Superintendent Sanchez mentioned it already, it is bylaw 9250. That is not a 5,000, obviously, but we are responding to the new legislation that has passed. The others, you can see that on some of them there are a lot of changes, and on others there's only 2 or 3 changes. I think they're just trying to make sure I don't get bored. So if you have any questions at all on any of these, any input, we'll take that.
No input?
No, Notice, don't take flags.
I know!
No taking flags.
That's awesome. We wore you out on the last item.
Does anybody have any discussion or questions? No?
Okay, so these are first reading. We are recommending that the board waive the second reading and adopt as is.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
A second, oh, okay, go ahead. Second.
Okay, and roll call vote. Trustee
Aye.
Soski? Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Griff?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Thank you.
Clicker? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're moving on now to item 15D, which is discussion and approval of the monthly financial report.
Okay, so this is a monthly financial report for the month of October. And board members do have it, you should be able to see it on your screen. It'll be a lot easier than reading it on the screen. But for my friends in the audience, I do apologize. It is teeny tiny. I can't make it any bigger. It comes directly out of the system. But it is in the board agenda. There you go. Thank you, Kelly. Okay. So this is just running through it one more time. The far left numerical column is what we adopted back in June. The budget adjustments are accumulation of the adjustments to date and then the current working budget that we've got. The actual income and expenses that have been either collected or checks written and the remaining balance. We are, by the time we got to October, we're partially through doing first interim adjustments. We have made some of the adjustments, but not all of the adjustments to the health and classified salaries because we do them by resource or categorical program, making sure that we can balance within each one of those. They don't get all done at once. We balance as we go through. And so this is partial but not complete. And we do believe that in both of those that we have enough money in other parts of the budgets that we will not actually be getting any of their fund balances. Certainly in categoricals, they are responsible for maintaining their own budget and budget balance. So increases in salaries and benefits result in either decreases to their fund balance, and there are some categoricals that carry a fund balance, or decreases in other areas of their expenditures. Likewise, because they weren't significant, because we had already agreed with our labor partners at TESTA that their increase would be there at adoption, no retros. We're fully behind them. I think we're on a pattern here that we're going to try and maintain that. There's no adjustment for HESTA other than any new teachers that may have needed to be hired for any of the new students that we had enrolled this year. So right now, the other thing that doesn't show up on this report is anything that we've got encumbered, but being really just 3 months into the school year, and we are 1/3 of the way, that's really 25% of the school year, but 1/3 of the way through most of these expenditures, I think that we're on track. So this is the unrestricted. Categoricals will look a lot different. Also before the end of October, we went ahead and made all contributions to restricted programs that we had budgeted. We also did any and all transfers that we had budgeted so that we move the cash right away, and then if we need more or don't need as much as we had originally anticipated, that will all be adjusted at closing. But we go ahead and we fund them right now. Okay? Any questions on this one?
When will you get the property taxes from December? When we pay in December,
Okay, so property taxes for most of the residents in all counties are paid in December and April.
Right.
They're usually like a 2-payment system.
Right.
And so we usually get our property taxes, I will tell you, in December. However, we are working with the county auditor treasurer, and I believe that they are wholly and grossly understaffed over there. So while those taxes are collected, we might not see them until January. Okay. Having said that, I've got an estimate. They do provide us with an estimate based on the assessed value of what they expect to collect, and that's where we go with the budget. And by the end of the year, even if we didn't collect everything, they will credit us for that, and then they will work on collecting anything that is behind. So that's the kind of county that we work in. So I'm not too worried about that. We will get money, but you know, I think we've had this conversation before, and I'll certainly make sure to bring it back when we bring first interim. But our LCFF is, and for Cheryl, this might be the first time you hear this, our LCFF is made up of 2 things: state money and local property taxes. And if you think of those as a coffee cup, we fill it as high as we possibly can with local property taxes, and the state will top off that cup So if we get less taxes, the state's gonna contribute more. If we get more property taxes, the state contributes less, but we never spill over that property tax. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's just conceptually, that's the workings between the state money and the property taxes. Okay, so, any questions on this one before I move on? All right, so, and it's doing a two clicker. The next one, this is the fund balance, and where we are with fund balance for at October. Again, this will be adjusted and fine-tuned by the time we bring first interim back to you. But we are deficit spending by, $2.8 million. That is primarily the requirement of restricted programs needing higher contributions. We had adopted the budget to deficit spend by $347,000, but that was our planned continuance of the goals and actions that are within our LCAP, and the fact that the LCAP has carryover money that it has had for a couple of years, and because the amount that's funded on our LCAP is a fluctuating amount based on our unduplicated pupil count on a 3-year average, because the state can't make anything simple, it will go like this a little bit, and so any surplus we have, we're required to save it, but we continue those goals and services with the staffing that's in there, and so we're gonna plan on, at the adoption, not knowing we're gonna get more children, deficit spending by $347,000. So that's what that was at the plan, and now we're at 2.8, almost $2.9 million. We rolled over $9.7 million, that brings us at $6.8 million. No, I don't know what that percentage is, because we usually don't talk about percentage of fund balance until after we close the books. Yes, ma'am.
So you're saying we needed to move almost $3 million to restricted programs?
Yes, ma'am.
And, I mean, because generally, restricted programs like special education goes up every year. I mean, we just account for an increase. So this is to account for the increase, or that's still on top of the accounted increase?
We budget based on where we thought the kids were gonna be, and our enrollment in the special ed student population is practically what it was in December of last year, 888 kiddos, I believe it is. So we budget based on that, and as expenses came in and staffing needs came in and contracts came in, we needed to increase the contribution.
So is that like even consulting and all of those additional
Yes, ma'am.
things that are needed? Okay. All right.
Any other questions on this one before I go to the capital programs? Okay. So the next one are the restricted programs. Oh, wake up. Sorry, I need to see it on here because I can't see it very well there either.
So going back to that amount, that almost $3 million, is that going to be reflected in the restricted side?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and we'll get to that, that'll be the last page on the restricted. Actually, no, it's not, it's on this first page of the restricted side. So as you're looking at restricted page, which would be page 5 of the attachment, you've got revenue, you've got certificated salaries down through district support and prior year expenditures, and then you've got the other financing. You can see that it goes in there. Any contributions to restricted programs, there's an addition of $2.4 million in like that third section.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So it wasn't just almost $3 million, it's 2.4. Okay, so where does the rest of the money go?
The rest of the money were contributions going out, not to all restricted programs, but going out to, we're required under our contract with the city of Hollister to contribute $45,000 towards the facilities. We also have transfers that go out from our LCAP that go out into Fund 400 for our technology refreshment. We also have $600,000 that go out to the deferred maintenance program.
Okay.
And those two aren't in here because we're only looking at Fund 01. So the city contract, the technology, and the deferred maintenance are all in a different report that we don't generally bring to you until we do that. You're welcome. So you can see that there are a lot more changes in the adopted budget versus the current budget in categoricals. And that's because we do not budget for carryover. We don't know what carryover is going to be when we do the budget in May. And so we base our budget based on our best estimate or information that's available on what their current year revenue will be. So what ends up happening with carryovers in a lot of categoricals, half the categoricals, is that if you didn't earn it in a year, it's considered deferred revenue. I'm going to give you $500 this year, but you only have $300 of the program. So $200 becomes deferred until next year and is carried over. It's not a fund balance, but it's carried over. And so as we get into this year, after all of the books are closed, we know what those are, then suddenly you get $200 more of last year's money, and then this year's money, and then the categorical managers can make plans on it. Likewise, if you were a grant that allowed for fund balance, like say the ELOP program, if you had money that didn't get completely spent in the previous year and rolls over, then you can make decisions with additional money out of that fund balance for the current year, and so it'll come from fund balance and it will go up into the expenditure. So when we roll to the next page, you're going to see a lot of deficit spending, but that is very normal in categorical programs that are allowed to have carryover balances. They can't budget it at adoption because we don't know what that finite number is. We have to wait for that to roll over. Okay? So that's why in this case, there's $5 million, almost $5.1 million of additional expenditures going into categorical programs. Okay. Any questions on this one? All right. So moving on to the fund balance section, their deficit spending by $4.3 million. That's using some of that $16 million worth of carryover and using it as expenditures and things that we're going to do for the program. One of those programs is, and we mentioned it tonight, or it was mentioned tonight, is the community schools program. Right. That one has had a slow start. The first year we got a lot of money, and then all of the planning started at the school sites, so that money carried over, fell to fund balance. And then last year there was a lot more that was going on, and we're coming up to speed, and last year's money was not fully spent, so it fell to fund balance and ended up rolling over. So now you've got 2 years worth of money rolling over. We're now into the 3rd year of implementation, and things are going like gangbusters. And so you're going to see more things spent, more deficit spending in something like a community schools at this point as they start to ramp up on all of those various different things that you heard tonight that community schools are doing, or that RSJ came up and gave you some really great examples of how they're utilizing their community schools. So that's one of the examples of how they're using $16 million worth of carryover, or excuse me, $16 million worth of carryover by deficit spending by $4 million. Right. Okay. So we have 2 things happening. You didn't earn it all last year, so you're going to get that revenue coming in, and you're going to increase expenditures. And you didn't spend it all, but it's in your savings account, so now you're going to come up with plans to spend that. It's going to come out of the savings, and it's going to go into your plan for how you're going to expend it. So it's coming from both directions, and that accounts for $5 million worth of additional expenditures. Okay. Any questions on that?
Is there a drop dead date for spending it?
For spending what?
Spending all the carryover?
Yes and no. And they're all different. So federal programs, federal title programs, not migrant, because migrant kind of holds us on a very tight leash. You spend it and then you get it, kind of a deal. But the Title 1, 2, 4, and even 5, they'll have a 27-month carryover. Okay. So I'm constantly keeping track of, is this year 1, 2, or 3, and are we spending it all, and making sure that we do spend it so we don't lose that opportunity in funds. We have we have a few one-time monies that are still here that we are tracking to make sure that we spend all of those one-time monies as appropriately as possible so we don't end up having to send any money back. Then you have something like the arts in classrooms, arts in Prop 20. Yeah, thank you. That has a 2-year window. ELOP has a 2-year window. So we track that because both of those got a slow start, and we weren't sure exactly when we were going to get that money. So in the first year we didn't spend it, and we got the money at the end of the year. Well, then you have a full year's worth of revenue, and then we start the program in the 2nd year. Now, when it came to something like ELOP, we we were able to take advantage of accumulated funds in those first years, and we placed 3 cubes. So that was a one-time slam to use a whole bunch of money, and now we're kind of on track. We're still not spending all of our money, but that's not a bad thing because we might want to augment the program in some way with something that's going to give us a multi-year gain for a one-time cost. The arts in the Prop 28, same sort of thing. We didn't know when we were going to get it, and honestly, we waited a year and a half to get the funding on that and didn't do anything. And it didn't make sense to hire teachers that we didn't have budget to pay for. So when the money finally did come in, then we started advertising for teachers, and then we started using teachers. So at this point, we have 5 teachers in the Prop 28 program, and we are utilizing on a one-time basis some of that carryover money, so we spend it within that 2-year period on our contract with San Benito Arts. Okay, they're not nearly as big as they used to be because we have been able to hire art teachers, like fine art teachers, in addition to our music teachers. So we're sort of phasing them out and letting our fine art teachers get up to speed and kind of come up with a cohesive program, and then that will probably fade out, or I'm not sure what we're going to do with San Benito Arts, but we're using that to make sure that we don't lose any of that Prop 28 money, because the state has started to watch some of those programs and say, well, if you're not going to use it, then we're going to take it back and maybe redistribute it to other programs. Now, the first one that they did that on was on the ELOT program, and a lot of small districts couldn't do anything with the little bit of money that they got, and so they just didn't do anything. So when they got the money, they sent it back. It's no loss to them because it was just sitting there. Districts like ours are waiting to see, are we going to get more money? We haven't seen, for somebody who's got a robust program, a district that has a robust program, we haven't seen additional money come in, but we are always hopeful because there's always more that we can do.
Okay, any more discussion?
I just had a question, not on this, but I had a question on our reserves. So the letter that we got from the County Office of Ed last month regarding the district reserves, it says 11.72. Is that what we have?
11.72 in reserves. It's a combined number, categorical and unrestricted.
Okay.
So, and I think I always have a little bit of a, well, if you have to do it that way, I wish you do it, a little bit different. But they do comment on the level of district deficit spending that's in the budget, that's in that letter. But most of that deficit spending, we planned on deficit spending at adoption $3.7 million out of categorical programs. Well, we're supposed to spend that. And if you accumulate it, you're expected to spend it. So the only way it can be is deficit spending if you're not actually receiving revenue at the time. So I do always have a challenge when they say, well, here's all of your deficit spending, because they took the 3.7 plus the 347 that we had in the LCAP for adoption as deficit spending, and said, your deficit spending by almost $5 million. Well, in total, that's true, and I think it's a little misleading. In categoricals, we are, absolutely. So they have standards and they have things that they have to tell us, and they have to warn you as a board to be on the lookout for things like systemic deficit spending. But we need to parse that out into, okay, part of it is categorical and part of it is unrestricted.
But I'm with Kathy, I think because we didn't get an explanation, we just received the letter. That we didn't know what to do with it, right? Because we had no one to turn to say, what are we going to do? What are we doing with this information?
And that's interesting. Did they not send you a letter last year? Because that letter is almost identical to what it was last year.
But you, Beth, you told us we're going to get a letter. You told us last year, you're going to get a letter and it's going to say that we're deficit spending because we have this much money that we're going to hold in reserve and we're going to have to spend it, and it's going to be spending more than is coming in.
Right.
So you explain that to us.
But this is a larger number, and so that probably hits you a little bit harder because they're not doing unrestricted, which is really what you have control over, and the categorical, which is dictated by the rules of the categorical and other agencies. They've lumped it all together. So I can see where that would be a much more shocking number when you receive it that way, but for the last couple of years, that's the same letter, and say, I wish you would say this in here, and they don't change it, they've got a, kind of a boilerplate that they wanna.
Well, that's because when we were short, real short, they never sent us a letter.
Well, and it is their responsibility to put you on notice of things that they see.
Yeah.
That's their job, that's okay.
Right, but they never sent us a letter when we really were short.
Right.
Oh.
But I think it gives the false impression that, you know, we're doing something wrong.
Right.
And so I guess a clarification from, you know, here would have been nice to have said, okay, let's sit down, let's talk about this letter, and let me explain. Only because again, that's just not how, it's not beneficial.
So you didn't know that that letter was coming? Or
I always know that that letter is coming, yeah.
Okay.
The problem is, for me, it looked exactly the same, the number's a little bit different, but exactly the same message as last year. And I did not recall anybody saying we need an explanation further, you know, at adoption than this. But what Superintendent Sanchez and I will do is next year at adoption, when that letter comes in, we will follow that letter, because they do mail it to you directly. We will follow that letter with an explanation and a section of what each one of those sections mean. And I apologize for not doing that. I thought y'all were good, so.
What is our reserve right now?
Right now, you have $12 million in categorical funds, and you have, based on the budget, okay, which means budget is authority to spend, it doesn't mean everybody's gonna spend it, and you have $6.8 million in unrestricted funds. Both of those are on this report. We don't have a percentage, because I jumped ahead of board member Chris, because she always asks what's our fund balance percentage. We don't ever know what that really truly is until after the books are closed, okay? Because I can give you what it would be if everybody spent all of their money and nothing else changed, but every time we make a budget adjustment, that number is going to change a little bit, because the percentage of fund balance is calculated on what are the total expenditures in both categorical and unrestricted, what are the total expenditures in there, and adding any transfers out. We talked about a couple of those, 140 and 14 and 400. So we have transfers out. Take those two and add them together and divide them by the fund balance, and that will give you a percentage. And then you can go, you know, what's 1%, what's 2%, what's 3%. And so anytime the budget changes, that number is going to change. So I usually resist because board member Chris, and she's smiling and she knows, and we know, and it's okay.
CTA trains us.
And that's fine.
Yeah,
But I can give you a number right now, and it will be different at your closing, and it might be a lot higher or a lot lower.
CTA has trained us.
Yeah.
I just love it when you just do this.
I do that in interim.
Yeah.
So you'll see that in December when we come back and we give you reports at the interim of where we think that we're going to be. But again, the budget is authority to spend. So let me give you an example. And I'm sorry because we're already after 9 o'clock and I was trying so hard. Ignoring the unrestricted general fund, because we will pretty much spend what we say we're going to spend. But in categoricals, you have a lot of money. I'm going to put a bunch of money in supplies. We'll use community schools, because there's a lot of money in community schools, and there's a lot of dynamic things happening there. I'm going to put a lot of money in supplies, and we're going to have field trips, and we're going to bring speakers in, but they don't have a defined budget that says $10 for this, $5 for this, $6 for this. They throw chunks of money at what they want for their plan, and then as they come up with those contracts, or they actually get the total cost of the transportation for the field trip, then they take it out of that budget. So that budget might have, say, $10,000 in it, but by the time the year is over, they only spent $4,600 in it. Right. If I give you the fund balance based on 10,000, it's going to look like our fund balance is like this. Right. And that's not really indicative of what's going on. Right. If everybody spends all their money, and we have to take it for all of the expenditures, including everything that's in the categorical side. So looking at this, you can see that they carried over $16 million. Well, at some point, that $16 million was up in a budget for them to spend. Whatever that categorical was, it was up there for them to spend. Throwing $16 million up there is going to take our fund balance to something that looks like, oh, we're well below the So it's really misleading to actually calculate it in the interim. It's better to watch where we're going, know what we thought we were gonna have at adoption, okay, because I presented that at adoption, and then see where we end up being at the year end, and watch the deficit spending in the interim.
Sounds good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Be so patient with us.
Not a problem. You guys are probably my best students of any board, because one, you ask questions, and two, you want to learn. So, you're doing fine. I do not mind any question at all.
Oh, I was just gonna reiterate, whenever the trustees, when you have questions about anything, we're more than happy, staff and I, to, pull together the data, the information, and answer any questions that you may have. So feel free to reach out to me.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the monthly financial report?
I'll make a motion that we approve the financial monthly report.
Second. Roll call vote, trustee Soski. Aye. Trustee Rios. Aye. Trustee Martinez. Aye. Trustee Grizz. Aye. And I'm an aye as well, motion carries. Thank you.
You're welcome. Superintendent says to do
Sure.
Okay, we're on item 15E.
Okay, last item, discussion and approval of E-rate fiscal year 2026, and it is a request for proposal. As you can see, the title is a mouthful, a lot of digits there. What this is a program that the IT department participates in. It allows for us to make purchases and pay 20% of the cost, for federal funding pays the other 80%. What we're requesting tonight does not have any financial implication. What it would allow is for staff to go out for bid, and when we have the best scenario with the bidding process, or the proposals, the request for proposals, we would come back to the board either in January or February to share with the board the companies that would be the best to work with. What staff have plans for is to refresh the last of the outdated network equipment, which is much needed. And tonight, what we are asking the board is for approval to move forward with this request for proposal for the E-rate category 2 for the 26-27 funding year.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the E-rate funding year proposal for 2026, 2027. Do I need to do all of them? Network electronics.
Wait a second.
Second.
All right, roll call vote, trustee Soski.
Aye.
Trustee Rios. Aye. Trustee Martinez.
Aye.
Trustee Grizz.
Aye.
And I am an aye as well, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 16, board member reports. Trustee Soski.
I had the opportunity to serve a wonderful taco bar at Sunny Slope School. A lot of fun. Enjoyed it. Good celebration there. Good reason to celebrate.
Absolutely. Trustee Rios, anything?
I did hear from a couple people from Sunny Slope, and they very much appreciated the taco bar, and also seeing board members come out to serve. And I had a really nice conversation with Superintendent Sanchez the other day, and we had a good conversation about a lot of different topics.
I served tacos and everybody loved them. They thought they were yummy.
I love going to Sunny Slope as well, and just talking to Kim Garcia and Joe Rivas about what's going on there, and it was exciting. Very, very exciting. Lots of hard work, lots of focus went into the success that they've had. Okay, agenda item 17, any future agenda items that you'd like to see on the agenda?
Do we have something on the list?
We will come back in December with an HR report. We also have a request that took place last month for an explanation on LEA billing. And I believe those are the two that come to mind right now.
was wondering, this must be a future agenda item, but I know Jen, she mentions at the last board meeting, I know you mentioned to the summit speakers, we need more staff, like tech and.
Oh, yeah.
And I wondered if we could maybe have some type of a report on the staff, like
Yeah,
technology has 7 employees and.
I know, I'm concerned for the technology department.
But even like, facilities has so many, leads and underneath that, so many employees.
We're growing so much.
I don't have any idea on how much staff we actually have.
Well, I'm concerned about that. Do we have enough staff for the growing amount of students? And, I'm very concerned about that.
Well, even SPED, I know SPED is very large, I don't know how large, but I'd like to know how many.
So this could be included in the HR report?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Whatever you feel is, break it into two, like one in January, one in December, one in January, whatever works out.
If you would like a public report, or we can send you the information, whatever you
A
like.
public report would be nice.
Yeah, I think it should, the public needs to know because it makes them know that we are aware that we're growing and that we're taking care of their children. Because I think that's what this is all about, we're taking care of their children.
The department's, efforts too don't go unnoticed, that even with the small crew that they have, they accomplish a lot. But I think it's, again, you can only ask for so much, folks, and I think, when we start to really analyze, right, what the need is going to be, and even for the facilities, it relates to people, right? Because it takes people to ensure that all of the things that are needed to run this district are being met by the people that we employ. And do we have enough people in those specific departments, to ensure, just like food services presentation, she's already thinking ahead of
How many more people she's gonna need, and the training.
Conversations should trend throughout our, departments, because we definitely need, more.
Sounds good. Anybody else?
The only other thing I'm thinking about is, besides the facilities and like, where are we at for planning for next year and for our students? Are we gonna have enough buildings? Yeah, facilities, okay. Right. Yep. And the other will be the cell phone, like Gerald discussed. Maybe that's gonna be a January meeting, because you need to talk to your site administrators about what we talked about.
Yes.
And then you can kind of guide us through what they said. We have to work together.
Absolutely.
I don't want one group over here, one group over here. We need to be working together. But they are very important in our discussion about that stuff. So,
Agreed. All right, so let's move on now to item 18, any announcements or reminders?
Just wish everybody a nice break. Safe travels, happy journey traveling, and enjoy your family.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Oh, meeting closes at 9.